Whoa, am I in a video game? That's so cool. I wonder what video game I'm in. No, anything but that one. No, cousin, you put the seaweed on the plate, you put the rice on the seaweed, then you roll it up, it's just sushi, it's not that hard.
Hi everybody, my name's Kingnusmi. I once again asked you guys what episode of The Haunting Hour, oh my god, voice crack. Asked you guys what episode of The Haunting Hour you'd like to see, and you guys voted for Game Over. It just barely beat out Spaceman in the closest poll that I think I've ever seen on my channel. We're starting to get to the point of The Haunting Hour where I've talked about all the most popular episodes, well, most of them at least, but now I'm getting down to the more niche episodes, and I honestly love that. Even though the comments are starting to get a little more hostile towards the winner of the polls, calm down guys. I'll do all the episodes probably, so your episode will come one day. For those who don't know, The Haunting Hour is a kids anthology horror show that aired from 2010 to 2014 on a now defunct channel called The Hub. It was created by R.L. Stein, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show, Goosebumps. The Haunting Hour is known as a darker version of Goosebumps and is one of the scariest kid shows of all time. With its eerie visuals, some actually terrifying monsters, and pretty dark twist endings to the episodes. They take short stories from some of Stein's other books, like the one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hour, as well as stories from other authors, which is why I really like this show a lot. Game Over is the 9th episode of the series and was written by Jed Elinoff and Scott Thomas, who wrote some banger episodes like the Dead Body episodes, Afraid of Clowns, and The Red Dress. It was directed by Terry Ingram, who also directed the holiday episode A Creature Was Stirring, and the severely underrated episode Sick. The episode stars Callum Worthy. You'll definitely recognize him if you were a Disney kid. He was Austin's best friend Dez in Austin and Ally, and he was also in an episode of Good Luck Charlie and Zeke and Luther. But this isn't his first time doing a show like this. He was actually on the show Night Visions, which was created by Dan Angel and Billy Brown, who are the showrunners for The Haunting Hour. This episode has been recommended to me since the beginning of me doing this series, but it also has mixed emotions within the fandom. Some people think it's one of the funniest and best episodes in the whole series, while some think it's stupid, boring, and not scary even in the slightest. But I'll be the judge of that today, and I've definitely talked enough already, so let's quit yapping and get into the episode. We start this episode in a spaceship? Oh, never mind. We're actually in a stinky old basement. But we get to meet our main characters, Kelly and his best bud, Gooch. Yes, his name is Gooch. I had to look it up to make sure I was hearing it right. And I'm hoping they're calling him this because it's the character's last name or something. And they didn't just name the character Gooch because it would be funny to name your character after the place between your balls and butthole. This is crazy. Anyways, Kelly and Gooch are playing this game, and while Kelly is really good at it, Gooch is pretty bad at it.
Game over.
Granted, he probably would have stayed alive a little bit longer if Kelly wasn't such an asshole to him.
I'm cornered. Kelly, help me out. Forget it. Your reliability.
Oh my god, chill, guy. It's a co-op game. You're supposed to help your friend. That's the whole point of co-op. Cooperation. That's what it means. It's not that serious. But Kelly does kill the evil alien in the game and has to show off how amazing he is at video games.
Oh, that just happened. And that is why they call me Kellraiser.
Okay, dude, you're way too cocky to be a dude named Kelly. Also, Kellraiser? That's kind of a dumb gamer tag. Gooch is pretty upset that Kelly just let him die so easily in the game, but Kelly claims it's to help him because he can't get better at the game if Kelly is saving him all the time. Luckily, Gooch's mom saves them from this argument to ask Gooch to come upstairs and help them unload the groceries. But that doesn't help Kelly's cocky attitude.
Don't take too long, Gary. Why? You want a partner? No, I need a snack.
What is he, your butler now? Hey, I don't want to hear anything when you're 30 and alone because you treated all your friends like shit. After Gooch leaves, a message for Kelly appears on the screen. Someone named Major Mayhem asks Kelly if he's ready for a real challenge. Obviously, Kelly wants a challenge because video games these days are just so easy, they're pretty much for babies. So Major Mayhem sends him a literal address. Is that an actual address? Wait, let me look it up. Okay, it's not. That's very good. It's very good to know. Anyways, he tells Kelly to meet him there at 4 p.m. the next day and to come alone and be ready. Okay, this dude is either trying to kill Kelly or he wants a piece of Kelly. If you know what I mean. Either way, he shouldn't go. It's a terrible idea. They're gonna go, aren't they? Yeah, teenagers always make dumb decisions. The next day, Kelly picks up Gooch from his house and they head off to the location together. Gooch points out how bad of an idea this is, but Kelly says that this Major Mayhem dude challenged him and he'd never back down from a challenge. Yeah, because meeting strangers that you've talked to online has notoriously been a great experience for everyone. But they need to hurry because it's almost 4 o'clock.
Gooch, where you going? Gotta hydrate.
At the bowling alley? I mean, I know bowling alleys sell drinks and food and stuff, but I never really thought, I'm thirsty. I'm gonna go to the bowling alley and grab a drink. It's just not something you think about. Anyways, the guys continue to walk to the meeting spot, and the closer they get to it, the creepier and sketchier things get. Even the apartment location has a buzzer to let people in. Kelly seems to be okay with all the sketchiness, but it has Gooch a bit rattled, especially since he has to wait outside for Kelly to get back. Kelly tells Gooch to give him just 5 minutes, so he does exactly that.
Okay, 5 minutes, then I'm calling for backup.
Backup for what? The homeless dude outside? I think you're fine, bro. I think he just wanted some money. Kelly heads inside to see a pretty sweet gaming setup with a chair that'll surely start hurting your back after like 10 minutes of sitting in it. Suddenly, a guy appears on the monitors and tells him not to touch anything and to, quote, sit down, Kellraiser. So this must be the guy that sent Kelly the message.
How do you know that name?
That's your weak handle.
Right? It's really not that good of a gamer tag, bro.
Whatever, Major Mayhem.
You did clock you there, though. He tells Kelly that he is not a bad gamer, but if he wants to prove he is the best, now is his chance. Mayhem is putting together a tournament of the best gamers in the world, and the final boss is Major Mayhem himself. Whoever wins the tournament gets to be the game master, whatever that means, and a game called Z-Town pops out of the disk drive. Major Mayhem says that Z-Town is a very exclusive game that very few get the pleasure of playing, and there is only one rule to play it.
Don't share it with anyone.
That should be easy enough, so Kelly takes the game and runs out to meet up with Gooch. Later that night, back at Gooch's house, they pop in Z-Town and play it together. Wait, wasn't there just a rule about that?
Don't share it with anyone.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I'm not going crazy and I can hear things. Right when the game loads up, we see a creepy hallway with eerie music playing. Whoa! That actually got me. Cheap jump scares always get me, and that's why I hate them. I probably should have seen it coming though, honestly. I mean, creepy hallway, creepy music, jump scare material.
Zombies. Sweet.
Yeah, the game is called Z-Town. What did you think Z stood for? Anyways, the two guys choose their weapons for the game. Kelly takes a bat, which is probably the best choice that you have here, and Gooch chooses the croquet mallet. Okay, probably not the best choice, but at least he didn't choose the plank of wood. Whoever chooses that has to be the dumbest person ever. After they choose their weapons, they hear a loud rustling upstairs, and the game shows them the gate to the apartment where they just got the game from. Suddenly, the lights go out, and the sun comes up. That's strange. And Gooch's house is completely silent, which is strange because it's normally pretty loud from his family who seem to shout rather than talk at a normal speaking level. The guys hesitantly make their way upstairs where they hear the rustling again. As they creep their way up, they find Gooch's house is a complete wreck. And even worse, there's a zombie in his house. The boys are understandably freaked out by this, but they actually fight back. Kinda. Gooch starts to throw kitchen utensils at the zombie, which does absolutely nothing to it. But then he finds a fly swatter, and that also does nothing to it, but it might mildly annoy him, maybe. But Kelly is a gamer, and he quickly and in a really cool way stomps on a frying pan, makes it fly up, catches it, and kills the zombie with it.
That was awesome.
I'll give you that. That was pretty awesome. At least you got the first zombie down. Oh, spoke too soon. The zombie chases them to the front door where they almost don't make it out because the zombie grabs onto Kelly, which makes Gooch have to keep slamming the door to get him off. Luckily, after a couple of slams, they do get away, but not without a souvenir.
Kelly? What?
And now that they are safe, they walk around and try to figure out what is going on and where everybody disappeared to. They make it to the bowling alley and Gooch is getting quite hungry, so he stops in to hopefully find some food. Out of all places, I don't understand why this dude chooses a bowling alley for everything. Luckily, the alley is zombie free and there is actually a few hot dogs ready for them to eat. I still wouldn't eat that. Who knows how long it's been there or how moldy it is. Even though the bowling alley is quiet and zombie free, Kelly can feel that something's not right. Suddenly, both of them get attacked and taken down to the ground. Luckily, it's to people. They had to just make sure that the boys weren't zombies before they help the boys up and they start talking. This is Sean and Micah, and they've been trapped in the game for a while, but they don't know that they are in a video game. They claim that they haven't seen any other unzombified people in a really long time, and the alley seems to be the only safe place from them. But it's still not completely safe. Get down! They try to quickly hide from the zombie, but Kelly goes to make sure the zombie didn't see them standing there.
Yeah, I think you saw us.
Well, that's not good. Now that they are in danger, the safe from the game appears before them and tells them to choose their weapon. And this is when they finally realize they are in the game. Honestly, it took you long enough. I noticed immediately. When there's a zombie in front of you and it's suddenly daytime, that should have been your first 2 clues, you know? When they open the safe, it's the same weapons from the game as well. So they all pick their chosen weapon. Micah picks up the shovel and Sean takes the wooden plank. What? Are you dumb? Bro, there's a crowbar right there. Grab that. What are you doing? Oh my God, I can't believe somebody actually chose the board. They actually chose the wooden plank. Why would they do that? Anyways, you already know what Kelly and Gooch grabbed, but Gooch also chooses to take a chain because...
Doesn't say you can't take 2.
And he does have a point. Slowly, the zombies start filing in, with Gooch taking the old guy zombie because he's bad at video games, and everyone else just kind of fighting whoever they can. We get a couple of over-the-shoulder shots with them fighting the zombies, which I'll be talking about that decision later. And Sean tries to use his trusty plank, and you won't believe what happens to it. Oh no. What did I say about the person that chooses the plank earlier? Whoever chooses that has to be the dumbest person ever. Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't think anyone could be any more dumb. Okay, Gooch doesn't count. Why are you running into a wall? Dude, you have control of your body. What are you doing? By the way, the zombie that Sean was fighting is played by Lonnie Guerrera. I think I said that right. And she was the weeping woman in the season 3 episode. She's also Creature Erica in Lovecraft Woods. I have to mention that because she is literally the only person who shows up in another episode. And I felt wrong if I didn't mention it. Somehow Gooch stays alive and so does Kelly, but Micah gets taken by a group of zombies, while Kelly just stood there and watched and did not help. Sean quickly runs to try and help her out, but it's too late. Micah is gone, and she dies off camera. I know this because there's a loud announcement to tell me.
Player 2, game over.
Since the bowling alley isn't safe anymore, the guys start wandering around the town until they run into a store with TVs up front. Major Mayhem appears on the TV and kinda taunts them about losing Micah. Sean demands that he be let out of the game, but it's too late. Once they're in the game, the only way out is to finish it. Haven't you seen an episode like this before?
What are you doing here?
Kelly let me play.
Oh yeah, Gooch isn't supposed to be here. Since he is here, he is now forced to compete. Major Mayhem tells him that there's just 2 more levels to complete, and then there's a boss fight, and he signs off with,
Good luck. Level 2 is about to begin.
damn, that zombie was quiet. I didn't even hear him. It targets Sean and drags him away while Kelly and Gooch sprint in the other direction without a second thought. The zombie drags Sean into the sewers, and finally the boys notice, circle back around, and try to help him. But the man cover is a little too heavy, and they don't get him in time.
Player 3, game over.
Hey, he lasted longer than I expected, and it looks like the plank was no help. After losing both of their partners, the tension is pretty high between Gooch and Kelly. Gooch is upset because he isn't supposed to be there, and it's Kelly's fault that he's stuck in this situation. Because Kelly is such a show-off and kind of forced Gooch to play this game with him.
You might be pretty good at video games, but you're a lame friend. You know that?
Yeah, you tell him, Gooch. Kelly apologizes for everything, but promises that he will get them out of this mess, and the only way out is to finish the game. So they follow the signs that show them where the next level is, and it takes them quite a long time, so long that it's actually nighttime now. And just like any other video game, it helps them out a little by giving them some night vision goggles for their next mission. They equip the goggles, and suddenly an insane amount of zombies start coming from everywhere. Kelly understands that they won't be able to survive this if they just stand there, so he starts to run away. But Gooch has another plan. Gooch decides to stay back and hold the zombies off long enough to let Kelly escape to fight Major Mayhem. Gooch knows that he has no chance in hell defeating him, but Kelly does. So a sacrificial death is the best way to go.
Player 3, game over.
Wait, that was the whole level? He didn't even kill a single zombie, he just died. What? Okay, well now that level 3 is finished, it's now time for the final boss. Luckily, he's held onto his bat for... Why'd you do that? Hey, you're gonna need the bat, bro. Kelly runs all the way to the apartment that was once full of cool gaming equipment, but now is empty and the perfect place for a boss battle. And it looks like Major Mayhem has been waiting a long time for this. Wait, he gets machetes? Why did Sean have to use it? Never mind, I'll quit mentioning it, never mind. Major Mayhem tells Kelly to choose any weapon he wants, any weapon at all. So Kelly decides to choose the best weapon of all.
I choose my friends.
Wait, I was thinking you're gonna use like a gun or something like that. I mean, these guys died pretty quickly to brain dead zombies, and it looks like this guy's pretty good at the game. That's when Micah uses her shovel to disarm Mayhem, and Sean cleverly uses his board to block a hit from him and also disarm him. Dang, maybe that board is a little more useful than I gave it credit. And somehow Gooch wraps a chain perfectly around his leg and takes him down.
Enemy defeated.
Ah, you gotta love the power of friendship. Wait, Kelly didn't even do anything. He didn't even like swing a bat at all. He just stood there. And Mayhem doesn't seem to be upset about him winning at all. He's actually happy that he finally found someone who could beat him at the game. He says that the only way he could escape is if he found someone better than him to replace him. And since Kellraiser is now the best, he has to stay until he can find someone to defeat him. Let me out of here! Luckily for him, that might be easier than he thought, because we cut to a kid who is kicking ass at a game. So he gets an offer for a real challenge, and all he has to do is touch the screen. And that's where the episode ends. Honestly, this episode isn't that bad. It doesn't feel like a Haunting Hour episode, though. They obviously wanted to try and cash in on the gamer craze of the early 2010s, and it apparently worked because a ton of you really loved this episode. And I will admit, this episode was at least somewhat interesting compared to all the other gamer episodes and TV shows we got. The only good show I can remember about video games was that show Aaron Stone. Did he always look that dumb in the show? Maybe it wasn't a good show. But they did do a couple of things right in this episode that some other shows absolutely butchered. Like the third person over the shoulder shot was really smart. The health bar and the weapons in the corners is something that is an actual thing that happens. And they didn't try to use too much gamer lingo. Absolutely hated it when shows tried to do that back then. While I do like the over the shoulder shot idea, they really needed to just back the camera up, dude. You can't see most of the screen, so I can't really see what's going on. And that would be horrible in a video game. Imagine you're playing Marvel Rivals and this was your POV. Yeah, it doesn't make much sense, does it? Also, I forgot to mention this and even put it in my script. I just remembered it from my huge brain, such a big brain. But Brandon J. McLaren plays Major Mayhem, and he's in a lot of stuff like She's the Man, but you probably know him from Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Also, there is no way these guys would just suddenly fight for Kelly after he brought them back. I mean, he just let all three of them die, and now they're all buddy-buddy. I mean, Gooch might have helped them even after their little argument, but these two other guys have barely met the dude. They didn't even ask questions. They just fought like they were his soldiers. Now, I do like the zombie design in this episode. It's kind of like a cheaper design, but honestly, it's a little grotesque, and I think the bright blue eyes honestly add a creepy factor that I didn't know could be added. And they're honestly quite strong. Like, the zombies took a beating in this episode, but none of them actually died. Hello, that was a straight lie. This one zombie dies. There's only one zombie that dies in this whole episode, which is still not that great. Probably because one dude was using a plank while the other one was running into a wall. So as always, I do wish they had a part 2 to this episode or something like that, because the end was just so rushed. It had a nice pace in the beginning, and it was doing pretty well at keeping everything a little creepy. But after the bowling scene, it's like they hit the gas and flew through the rest of the levels to fight the boss. And even the boss fight was like 10 seconds long. With just a little more time, I'm sure they could have fleshed out the story and made this one of the greatest episodes in the series. Although I do like that Kelly kind of got what he deserved in the end. He might have come around and learned his lesson by the end of the episode, but it was already too late for him. But yeah, let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below.
Guys, I can't think of an intro. I've run out of ideas. So I'll just explode. Hi everybody, my name's Kingnusmi. I asked you guys what episode of The Haunting Hour you wanted to see me talk about, and you guys surprisingly picked Spores. A lot of people say they picked it because of The Last of Us Season 2 just came out, and this episode is similar to it, which is a pretty valid point, and I thank you guys for thinking about the algorithm for me. But seriously, I thought that it would lose, especially being up against Perfect Brother and Fear Never Knocks. I mean, those episodes are great and way more requested than Spores, but I'm not complaining, honestly. I think Spores is a sleeper episode. But let's slow down for a second and let's talk about The Haunting Hour for those that don't know. The Haunting Hour is a kids horror anthology show that aired from 2010 to 2014 on a now defunct channel called The Hub. It was created by R.L. Stein, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show, Goosebumps. The Haunting Hour is a darker version of Goosebumps and is one of the scariest kid shows of all time. With its eerie visuals, some actually terrifying monsters, and pretty dark twist endings to the episodes, this show gripped kids in the short time that it was on TV. They take short stories from some of Stein's other books, one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hour. I have them both right here behind me. Isn't that crazy? It's almost like I have to read them for these episodes. As well as stories from other authors, which is why I like this show a lot. Spores is the 9th episode of the 4th season, which means it's the second to last episode before the show was canceled. It was written by the duo Natalie Lapointe and Greg Yolen, and they also wrote the episodes Red Eye, Terrible Love, and My Old House. The episode was directed by Ken Friss, who was a script supervisor for most of season 1 and 2, but he only directed 10 episodes himself, including my favorite episode, Scarecrow. He also directed a lot of the other hub horror show Spooksville, including the iconic episode Critical Care. Gotta love that tonsil episode, so stupid, so fun. Like I said earlier, Spores isn't one of the episodes that I see recommended a lot, but surprisingly here recently Spores has started to be recommended to me more often. There's a few people like It's Unique though who was ahead of the crowd and asked over a year ago for it, and I bet Monster Cheese is excited because he spent 8 days last month begging me for it. Some people say Spores terrified them as a kid and is one of the scariest episodes of the series, while others say it's just bad and boring all around. But I'll be the judge of that today, so let's quit yapping and get into the episode. We start this episode with a bunch of people banging on the windows of this car as they beg this Alfredo Linguini look-alike to get out of the car. We quickly learn that this is a family and they're trying to get the youngest son, Melvin, out of the car. But Melvin is hyperventilating and absolutely terrified of something. But as he looks around at his family, he slowly calms himself down. I think his mom really helped with his panic attack because rather than yell at him like everybody else, she has a calmness to her. But his dad, not so much.
Hey, I made it, Buster! Out!
Yeah, because when your kid is having an episode and locks himself in a car, screaming at him is going to calm him down. Melvin does reluctantly get out of the car, and their family can now get ready for their family hiking trip. But something about the forest has Melvin spooked, and he tells his family,
I'm not going in there.
but his dad is not having it. Apparently, his dad is super competitive, and he made a bet with this guy that he and his family could make it up the mountain in 3 days because it took the other guy's family 4 days.
Well, I am not gonna let us lose to Bill Needleman. I told him it was game on.
Jesus, dude, at least, like, make some noise so they know you're coming. It's like common courtesy, man. Just kind of like break a stick or something, you know? The weird ranger dude comes to check in with the family. He gives them a few pointers for the hike, some simple ones like stay on the trail, leave no trace, take your time, and don't camp anywhere but the designated camping sections. He also warns the family that they've lost contact with a couple of other hiking groups recently, and they've been in the woods for over a week and haven't made their way back yet. But hey, those families might just be taking their time. And I think the ranger realized that he was being a bit too, grim for a family that's about to go on the hike that these people are missing on, so he backtracks just a little bit.
What am I doing? Have fun.
Okay, now Melvin has a good reason for not wanting to go into the woods. That guy's definitely a psychopath. There's something not right about him. By the way, you might have recognized Ranger Jackson from the episode Scarecrow. He's played by Juan Reidinger, and he was Scarecrow in the episode. He's also in the episode Coat Rack Cowboy as John Mad Dog McCoy. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and meet the rest of the family. The mom's name is Janet, and she's played by Erica Carroll, and she was also in the episode Night of the Mummy as the mom in that episode. She was also in the show The Troop. Does anybody remember that show? Did anybody else watch that show besides me? And the dad's name is Jack, and he's played by Paul McGillian, and he was also in the episode Golem as the dad there as well. The big brother named Jack Jr. is played by Mitch Duffield, and he was in the episode My Sister the Witch as Reggie. And finally, the sister Jacqueline is played by Michelle Kraber, and she was Amelia in the episode Dreamcatcher. And of course, we have Melvin, who's played by William Ainscough, and sadly, he's not in any other episodes of The Haunting Hour, but I'm sure if there was a season 5, he would be brought back because he does an amazing job in this episode. Okay, let's get back to the episode. Melvin begs them to just let him stay in the car for a couple of days because he is terrified of death. He's been reading this book on all the deadliest things that can be found in the forest, but he's not scared of like bears or like, I don't know, beavers or something. Well, he probably is, but that's not the point. But he's scared of the things that can kill you that you can't see with a naked eye.
Lyme disease, brown recluse spiders. It's hemlock season.
Okay, dude, just don't eat hemlock and you're good. That one's an easy one to avoid. It does seem like Melvin's a bit of a hypochondriac to me, honestly. But once again, his family just tease him for being so worried, and his sibling points out that they probably should be more worried about the weird-ass ranger. And they're kind of right. Something's not right with that guy. Luckily, his mom understands him, and she asks him to just brave through it this time because it means a lot to his father. And she herself will protect him from anything that tries to hurt him.
Look, I promise I won't let anything bad happen to you.
I will. I love the mom in this episode. She's such a good mom. Finally, the family gets moving into the woods. And to keep themselves entertained, Jack Jr. and Jacqueline, wait a minute. Their dad, who's named Jack, named his first two kids Jack. Weird? We'll unpack that later. Anyways, Jack and Jack entertain themselves by playing the Guess What I'm Thinking game, where you think of a word and the other person has to guess the word you're thinking of. Except they always get it right on the first try. They claim they have twin ESP so they can read each other's minds, but Melvin isn't buying it for a second.
You're not reading each other's minds. You're just agreeing. It's not impressive.
But of course, his opinion doesn't matter because they're not even sure if he is actually their little brother. But he's sad to inform them that he is, because he's already DNA tested himself and he is related to them. Damn, even he was thinking he was in the wrong family. The family make it to the first sign and it looks like they're 11 miles away. Jesus Christ, dude, what are they climbing? Mount Everest? But they are ahead of schedule, which is great for the dad. By the way, I'm just gonna call the dad and Jack Jr. just Jack because it's just easier that way in my brain. The dad thinks that they might be able to get to the top of the mountain in only 2 days and have an extra day to hike to a nearby waterfall. But Janet tells him that maybe they should have a break day at the top because Melvin isn't as fast or strong as the rest of them. And she also looks pretty tired herself. She says that maybe they should make this hike more of a fun hike rather than a competition hike. But the dad really didn't like that idea.
You're kidding, right?
He says that this family is making it up there in 3 days. Then he says that Janet and Melvin can take their time if they want. So does that mean you don't consider Janet and Melvin as part of the family? The fuck do you mean by that, man? Janet also doesn't like the way he said that because she finally confronts him and says that they are there for his vacation, and the least he can do is be civil. I'm gonna complain about this dude at the end of the video. Janet is now furious with the dad and uses an excuse so she can walk away and cool down for a second. While she's away from the group, a giant cloud dust flows over her, and apparently it smells good. It gets all over her clothes and it kind of looks like pollen. Whatever it is, the nice smell has seemed to quickly calm her down. And after that, she heads back to the group and we see Melvin poking at this strange root that almost looks like a hand. They make it to the first campsite and they stay there for the night. But the next morning, Janet is nowhere to be found. So they do what anyone would do in this situation. Stand there and yell mom for a couple of minutes.
Mom?
Mom?
Mom? Mom!
Yeah, seems effective. I'm sure she's gonna come right out. Somehow that doesn't work, so the dad decides that they pack everything up and go look for her.
Mom! Mom!
Melvin, we already tried this, buddy. It's not working. The family head off in the trail in hopes of running into their mom, and all 3 of the kids are rightfully super nervous and concerned for their mom. Jack and Jack try to calm each other down by making themselves feel better about the situation, but this time Melvin kind of causes the issues by being a bit of a pessimist. But their dad is tired of hearing all the bickering and talking, so he turns around to tell the kids to stay quiet and stay alert and look for their mother. The only time I'll agree with this guy in this episode. But Melvin has had enough of his dad. He calls his dad out on being a bit of a narcissist. Every vacation they go on is his vacation, and it has to go the way he plans it, and if something doesn't go that way, he gets incredibly angry about it. But their dad claims that he does that for the family. If he didn't plan and control everything that they do, then the family would be doing their own thing and not be spending time together. Which, I mean, you can plan a vacation to a place everyone wants to go to and then take turns doing stuff each person wants to do. Most of the time, I just want to play mini golf. I'm on vacation, give me a putt-putt. Satisfied. That's all I want to do. I'm pretty good at it myself. Got a nice backstroke. Anyways, while the dad is yapping, their mom appears behind him, but she's acting very strange. She turns around and looks at the family and then takes off in the woods like a little gremlin or something. The family run after her, but when they get close, she disappears. And this starts the screaming again.
Mom! Mom!
Stop. It doesn't work, guys. It doesn't work. We already tried this. Good Lord. They never learn, never listen. The family trek on through the woods and find another campsite and decide to set up there. Is that not focused? What are you focused on? You focused on Sam? Why am I blurry? There's so many faces that it could be focusing on. This is not fun for me. I fixed it. Okay. It was that fucker. It was you. The dad is getting increasingly worried about Janet, especially since she seemed to be in some sort of fugue state. But he makes sure the kids are good and in bed, and he tells them good night, but right after that, he hears strange noises hereby in the woods. Thinking it's his wife, he investigates the noises, but he doesn't find her anywhere. Just in case she is nearby, he apologizes out loud for the way he's been acting the past few days, and he begs for her to come back. Maybe Melvin calling him out actually made him realize how shitty of a dad and husband he was being. But just before he heads back to camp, a gust of wind blows, and he takes a deep breath, soaking in all the not so fresh air. Later that night, Jacqueline hears a strange noise outside their tent, and she wakes up Jack to ask if he hears it too. He does, but he thinks it's just some tree or something scraping against the tent. But Jacqueline isn't buying that.
This isn't Lord of the Rings.
Dad!
Dad!
Guys, calm down. It's a wolf. You're in the woods. I think that's like a pretty normal thing to hear when you're in the woods. Now, the walking outside the tent, that's a bit freakier. The next morning, the group are once again on the trail, but their dad is acting very strange. He's not talking to them, and he's hightailing it up the mountain. Finally, after a minute of calling his name, he turns around and he is completely green. Jack offers that he takes a break or at least drinks some water, but their dad doesn't say anything. Jack says that they really should be heading back down the mountain to go get help so that they can find their mom, but once again, he's silent. Now, all three of the kids are on the same page about putting their mom first and putting this silly competition second. And they even say that they will go back by themselves if it really means that much to him to make it to the top of the mountain to beat this guy in this competition. And finally, their dad responds. He rips the map up where the kids can't read it and only says, "Up," and then starts moving without saying another word. We cut to later that day, and the dad is only getting greener, and the kids are getting so tired that they can barely stand up. But they finally made it to the top of the mountain. At first, they take in the view, but they quickly realize that their mom beat them up there. They walk over to their mom, and what they see next is one of the most disturbing things in the entire series. Their mom is emotionless, standing still with mushrooms and other plants growing out of her face. And they turn to see that their dad has also been infected. They look around and see multiple people standing there, not making a sound, and covered in different mushrooms and mosses, almost like they're soaking up the sun. The kids stand there in shock as their dad opens his mouth and a yellowish green powder pours out. Melvin thinks quickly and tells them to hold their breath and run away. And when they get far enough away, he pulls out his book that we saw from earlier and discovers that it could be cordyceps, a type of parasitic fungus that takes control of the host's brain. In real life, it mostly affects insects like ants, and it makes them go as high up as possible before the insect dies, so the sunlight helps it produce more spores so it can spread itself out even farther. So the show actually did that right, because all these people were infected and instantly headed straight up the mountain without turning back. But since they're up there and they have actual mushrooms growing out of their face, that probably means they're dead. When Melvin breaks the news to his brother and sister that their parents are dead, Jacqueline does not want to accept this fact. She panics and starts screaming, there must be something they can do.
There has to be something. We gotta do something!
As Melvin and Jack talk out the situation, Jacqueline starts acting a bit weird, and slowly a pink mushroom starts growing out of her ear. Jack is stunned. All he can do is stare at her as his sister beckons him to join her, claiming it doesn't hurt. Melvin tries his best to get Jack to escape with him, but Jacqueline suddenly says,
I'm thinking of a word.
Sunlight.
And just like his sister, Jack is infected by the killer fungus. Now that his whole family is dead, Melvin runs all the way down the mountain through the woods to the family car, where he runs into the creepy ranger. He tells the ranger what happened, but little did he know the ranger was also already infected, and he takes this opportunity to make Melvin join them. And that's where the episode ends. Yep, it was a downer ending of the series, the last downer ending of the series. And in my opinion, one of the most effective downer endings. While I do think this episode is a bit slow at times, I do think it gets a bit too much hate. I mean, some people were very upset that it won the poll. I think the episode is pretty good. It's got an interesting story and an interesting concept, and it came out around the time where fungus zombies were the new cool thing, and this episode does a great job at making a very, very creepy episode with this concept. concept. And I love how they show the spores in this episode because you can't see spores with a naked eye, but they kind of make it look like pollen. Very weird moving pollen, but pollen nonetheless. And I love how they actually did at least a little research on cordyceps before making the episode. In real life, it forces the host to move upwards so it can get the most sun, and everyone who was infected by it seemed to lose all access to their brain. I mean, the mom completely ignored them as they were calling for her, and the dad was just fast-tracking it up the mountain no matter how exhausted his kids were. And of course, I have to talk about the great CGI in this episode. The Haunting Hour has used CGI a bit in the series, and sometimes it doesn't look that great, but it's enough to get a scare like in the episode The Dead Bodies. Not the best use of CGI, but it did its job. But the CGI in this episode was great. Honestly, shockingly good. When the mushrooms finally grew out of the dad's face, I literally said, whoa! That's crazy. I expected them to kind of have like a cop-out, have them do makeup on him and like do like a pan up or something, you know? But I'm glad they gave us this awesome scene. It's super effective and it makes you feel bad for the guy. And they even double down and give another one to Jacqueline. I just love it. Jacqueline's is actually cooler in my opinion. I like how it comes out of her ear. Creeped Out also did a similar episode to this in Bravery Badge, except for in that episode, I believe it was moss, but it was like a moss that, you know, took over their brain, made them sing a creepy little song. But in my opinion, that episode kind of fell a little flat compared to this episode. I feel like they did a great job at making like a zombie fungus horror show. But that episode did have like a good ending where they fixed everything with music. This episode, nope. Everybody died. Literally everybody died. And that's why I like the Haunting Hour sometimes. They're not afraid to, kill people. That's it. I also have to mention the incredible makeup on their mother. The first time you see her covered in moss and mushrooms, it's equally horrifying and kind of depressing. And besides Melvin, she's the best character in the episode, so you hate to see her die like this. As for the other missing hikers, it still looks cool, but not as cool as the Dixel family, in my opinion. Like for them, it was like, you know, mushrooms and stuff were coming out of certain body parts, but for the other guys, it was like they're just covered in it, which I guess they could be there for a long time, so more stuff is growing on them. That does kind of make sense. It just wasn't as cool. Kind of like they just put on suits and masks. But there's one dude with the green eyes. That is freaky. They should have kept him around a little bit longer. And they do a great job at making you care for Melvin pretty quickly in this episode. He's so obviously the black sheep of the family. The poor kid is practically bullied by his dad and siblings, and the only one that seems to think about his feelings or even care for him is his mom. I mean, everyone else's name starts with a J, and his name starts with an M, and that's just one of many reasons that make him feel like he doesn't fit in with the family. I mean, the poor kid even tested his own DNA to his family to prove to himself that he was switched at birth or something, and when he wasn't, it seemed like he was depressed. He's also so incredibly smart, almost too smart for his own good. It makes him so scared of everything and kind of slightly annoying. But that doesn't matter because he looks like Linguini from Ratatouille and everyone loves that guy. But pretty much the whole time you feel bad for Melvin and you really root for him to survive and make it through this. But sadly, no one survives. Once again, no one survives. I'm just gonna keep pushing that in. Now, what I've been waiting for, what you've been waiting for. The dad. I seriously think the dad in this episode is a narcissist. Not like, he's a narcissist, No. Like, seriously, massively diagnosed narcissist. He literally only thinks about himself for most of the episode. I say most because it seems like he starts to worry about his wife after she goes missing. And I've already mentioned it like 2 times before, but he named 2 of his kids after him. And he only seems to care for both of those kids. His wife and youngest son are just second thoughts, and he proved that by offering to leave them behind to beat one of his coworkers up the mountain. And not to mention the whole scene where Melvin confronts him about making every vacation about him. They have to go where he wants to go. They have to do what he wants to do. But of course he tries to save it by saying he wants to keep the family unit, but I'm not falling for that. Narcissists try to make you feel bad when you call them out for their bullshit. Better they just bust into tears or make it your fault somehow. You can still be a family unit and go places that everyone would enjoy. Even when he was a fungus zombie, he ripped the map apart so his kids didn't know their way down the mountain. It's so deeply embedded into him that even when a parasite has taken over his brain, he can't not be an asshole. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there before I yell my voice away. Put him on the list of bad parents in The Haunting Hour and Goosebumps and all these TV shows. There's so many bad parents in these TV shows. Honestly, this episode isn't bad at all. Sure, it's not one of the greatest episodes of the series, but it's not bad. I mean, the series has much worse. It has a good story, great body horror, and a haunting ending. But I do think they could have done more with the nighttime scenes. Have one of the missing hikers kind of stalk the family or something just to make it a bit creepier, you know? But other than that, it's just like a mid-Haunting Hour episode. I don't know, let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below.
I don't know why they keep trying to make scary episodes of people on planes. Planes aren't scary.
Unless they're falling out of the sky, maybe, but they're not scary. Hi, everybody. My name's Kingnusmi. I asked you guys what episode of The Haunting Hour you guys wanted to see, and wait a minute. No, I didn't. I wanted to talk about this episode. Me. It's my channel. I can do what I want. But before we jump into the episode, for those who don't know, The Haunting Hour is a kids anthology horror show that aired from 2010 to 2014 on a now defunct channel called The Hub. It was created by R.L. Stein, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show, Goosebumps. The Haunting Hour is known as a darker version of Goosebumps and is one of the scariest kids shows of all time. With its eerie visuals, some actually terrifying monsters, and pretty dark twist endings to the episodes, this show really does have it all. They take short stories from some of Stein's other books, like one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hour as well. They also take stories from other authors, which is why I really like this show a lot. Today we're taking a look at the episode Flight. I think it's an incredibly underrated episode in the series. It's probably one of the eeriest and most unnerving episodes of all, and sadly it doesn't look that interesting from the outside in, so it's never going to win a poll. But don't worry, I'm going to become Tyrant Nusmi for this episode and show you guys this banger episode you guys have been sleeping on. Flight is the 4th episode of the 2nd season, and it is actually the 3rd best episode in the series, according to IMDb. Behind my personal favorite episode, Scarecrow, and slightly behind the episode Fear Never Knocks. It was written by Jack Monaco, who wrote other great episodes like Golem, Ghostly Stare, Sick, and Swarmin Norman, and it was directed by Neil Fernley, who directed a lot of the show, including some really great episodes like the Really You episodes, Pumpkinheads, Dreamcatcher, the Grampire episodes, and a ton more. So this episode is just set up to be a great episode. And that's really all I've got for right now, so let's quit yapping and get into the episode. Wait, before we get into the episode, we got an extension! For those who don't know, I am trying to make some merch of myself, and I decided to make a plushie of myself for my first merch endeavor. I'm working with this company called Gimme Swag to make this plushie, but they want to make sure people are actually interested in it and will buy it. So they're asking just 100 people to pledge $2 and promise that they will buy the plushie whenever it releases. As of right now, me recording this, we are literally 75% of the way there. We just need 25 more pledges. And since we're so close, they actually are kind enough to give us a little bit of an extension. So you just have 2 more days after I post this video to pledge $2 and possibly get a plushie of me. And if we somehow don't get 100 pledges, don't worry, you'll just get your $2 pledge back and you'll have nothing to worry about. So if you're interested in pledging, just click the link below. It is just $2. And I just want to clear something up. You are pledging $2 and then you'll pay the rest of it whenever the plushie comes out. So it's not just a $2 plushie, which some people have been asking me about. The plushie is actually $35 plus shipping. So just to clear some things up right there. Okay, let's get into the episode. We start this episode on a dark plane as a flight attendant named Brenda gets everything set up, and we watch as multiple passengers get on board the plane, including our main character, Josh. And he's so obviously excited to be on the flight.
Flying all by yourself sure is exciting, isn't it?
Wouldn't know. It's my first time flying ever.
Excuse me, what? I'm sorry, you were just mumbling and I'm not sure what you said, and I'm fairly certain Brenda back there didn't hear you either. Josh is seated next to this businessman, and after an awkward pause, Josh tries to introduce himself to the guy, but he just rudely ignores him and says,
"Headed out on business, Josh?"
And after that, the lights mysteriously flicker on and off, which freaks Josh out a little bit, so he does a little method his dad taught him to calm himself down. Whenever he gets a little nervous or worried about something, he just focuses on something. So he decides to focus on his hand, which seems to annoy the business guy a bit. For some reason. He even makes fun of Josh for doing it. Yeah, this guy's a bit of an asshole. He tells Josh to just relax. Riding alone on a plane is actually really great. There's no one to worry about and he can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. And then Josh hears these 2 guys in front of him talking pretty crassly about how they saw a crew loading a coffin into the cargo hold.
There you are, living a dream one day, the next, your luggage.
You guys can be a little bit more sensitive about the topic. You gotta be so mean. This news also freaks Josh out a bit, but at the same time, he thinks it's cool? But the businessman corrects Josh and tells him that it's not cool in the slightest, and that they should have loaded the body on the plane first while no one was on the plane so nobody would be able to see it. He views it as disrespectful for them to do it while everyone is on the plane to see.
Give the poor soul some dignity, show some respect.
And yeah, I kind of agree with him on this. They probably should have loaded him first. It also wouldn't cause such a commotion on the plane, you'd think. Next, Josh watches as this mysterious old lady boards the plane. She eerily stares Josh down and walks up to him and says, "There's nothing to be nervous about."
Everything is happening as it should.
Hey, can somebody get this grandma away from the child? She's being all weird and like
touching him and stuff. I don't think that's appropriate. She takes her seat behind him and stares at him for an uncomfortable amount of time. Even when she's blurred out in the background, you can see her staring at him. And now that the plane is taking off finally, let's talk about the actors. Josh is played by Dakota Goyo, and sadly he isn't in another episode of The Haunting Hour, but you might recognize him as young Thor in the first Thor movie, or even Max from the movie Real Steel. He also voiced the kid Jamie in the movie Rise of the Guardians, which is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie so much. He was also in a horror movie called Dark Skies, which I haven't seen, but it does look pretty interesting. Next up is the douchey business guy. The character's name is Vincent, and he is played by Tobias Slezak, and he was in 2 other Haunting Hour episodes. He was the dad in the episode The Intruders, and Lyle in the episode Goodwill Towards Men. Next up we have Brenda, the flight attendant, and she's played by Joanna Newmarch, and she was also in the episode Red Eye as Monica. And she's been in a lot of other horror shows like Supernatural, The Outer Limits, and even the new Twilight Zone series. And lastly, we have the creepy old lady. Her character name is Claire, but she is played by Mary Black. She was also in the episode Grampires as Gladys, the day I found out Gladys isn't spelled with an I. Whoops. But she's a pretty famous character actor. Most of the time she's playing a grandma in something like the series So Weird that I've mentioned on the channel before. But yeah, it's enough of that. Let's get back to the episode. Josh asks Vincent how long the flight will take, and Vincent facetiously says,
You in a hurry?
Josh is flying to go visit his dad and meet his dad's new girlfriend. But Josh really doesn't want to go, and this is when we learn that Josh's parents got a divorce. And he's still a little bit upset about it.
It's just ever since my dumb parents' dumb divorce.
It seems like his dad is the one to blame for the divorce, and he also moved on a little too quickly for Josh's liking. And ever since his parents got divorced, his dad has been really adamant on seeing Josh, even when Josh doesn't want to see him. Vincent finally chills out with all the sarcasm and assholery to be real with Josh. He says that divorce is hard and moving on is even harder. But ultimately, Vincent doesn't know much about the subject because he's actually never been married, because he's such a busy guy. He's always on business. He can't possibly be tied down to one girl. Vincent then tries to get Brenda's attention for something, but she either can't hear him or she just completely ignores him on purpose, which makes him super upset that this plane doesn't have first class.
He had to take the puddle jumper with no first class.
Talk about being pretentious. He's like, oh, I gotta sit next to a stinky kid, now I don't get first class? Okay. Later that night, we see the plane is flying through a thunderstorm. The storm is so bad that it wakes Josh up, and he takes a look around to see that everyone else is dead asleep. Everyone except Claire. He takes a second to wake up a little bit more, and then he glances back at Claire and sees it was actually a dream. Or was it? Okay, bro, I know you're scared right now, but please wipe the drool off your face. It's getting on my nerves. I'm tired of looking at it. The nightmare scares him pretty bad, so he does the hand focus thing again, and Vincent asks Josh if he's okay, and that's when Josh lets him know about the weird nightmare. He tells Vincent that the old lady turned into the Grim Reaper just for a second, which seems to make Vincent a bit uncomfortable. And Josh kind of goes in describing in great detail what the Grim Reaper is, like this guy doesn't know, which makes Vincent freak out a bit. So he tells Josh to keep his voice down so he doesn't freak anyone else out, and to stop talking about it because he's freaking himself out. Then he tells Josh to just get up and walk around for a second to clear his mind and stretch his legs a bit. So he does. After quickly sneaking past the creepy old lady, of course. Vincent was acting all cool and tough with Josh sitting next to him, but after Josh leaves, he's very obviously spooked by the old lady as well. Josh stands in the back room for a second and peeks at the old lady through the curtains.
She started staring at me as soon as you walked by, really staring.
What the? How did he get back here so fast? Bro tapped into the Speed Force or something, dude. He got so spooked he ran back there. Vincent tells Josh that now he can't help but think that this sweet old lady is the Grim Reaper, and that it's starting to freak him out too. And they take another peek through the curtains to see that she's just knitting. Never mind. Now they both are panicking that the Grim Reaper is on their plane, and they try to think of a reason that they would be there. Vincent thinks of the worst and figures that the plane is going to crash and everybody on board is going to die. But Josh thinks that maybe it has something to do with the dead body in the belly of the plane. The Reaper just wants to take the soul with them, and the spirit must be hiding somewhere on the plane. Sadly, they don't know who the spirit could be. Josh wants to try and help the spirit escape the Reaper, but Vincent is, smart and says that that is a pretty stupid idea. And sadly, he's right. I mean, it's the Grim Reaper. Vincent suggests that they just go back to their seats and lay low until the flight is over and stay out of the Reaper's way. So Josh braves the walk back to the seat, quickly walking past the Reaper again. And when he makes it back to his seat,
Vincent is already there, but he was just behind Josh a couple of seconds earlier. That means Vincent is dead.
It's you. You're the corpse. You're a ghost.
Don't say that.
This news seems to be just as shocking to Vincent as it is to Josh, and that's when...
No standing in the aisle during flight, sweetie. You need to take your seat.
Brenda tells Josh to take his seat because they're about to hit some turbulence, but Josh tries to slyly change seats by saying his seat is uncomfortable. But she questions that statement by saying...
Really? You have 2 whole seats to yourself.
Which confirms both of their worst fear. Vincent is in fact the soul the Reaper is here for. Vincent is still in denial that he's the ghost, but every time he gets a little upset, something goes wrong with the plane. At first it was just sudden turbulence, and the second time, sparks start flying from all the lights. And to prove to Vincent that he is a ghost, Josh asks him to hold his hand out, and when he does, Josh pushes his hand straight through Vincent's. This suddenly makes all the memories of his death flood back to him. Vincent's face turns pale and corpse-like as he recalls a really bad car accident that he never woke up from. Vincent then goes on a rant about how he worked so hard to get what he wanted in life, and it ended so suddenly that he didn't even know he was dead. And now he's just a corpse in a coffin at the bottom of a plane.
And this is how it ends? Flying in some podunk puddle jumper? I don't even get a Gulfstream.
Okay, guy. Yeah, maybe next time put it in your will and then they'll put your dead body in a nicer plane. Josh turns to look at the old lady once again. He watches as she puts away her knitting supplies and stands up. She slowly makes her way down the aisle, changing from old lady to Reaper every time the lightning flashes, and stops right at their row, raising her arms, showing them her true form. Vincent asks the Reaper, why now? And Josh informs him that the Reaper isn't allowed to take the soul until they realize that they're dead. But Vincent isn't ready to move on yet. The Reaper reaches out her hand as if to tell him it's time, but he won't go. He teleports into the aisle, telling her he's not going, and as he does this, something happens to the wing of the plane. Josh peeks out to find a hideous gremlin tearing apart the wing of the plane. I'm just joking. The engine does in fact explode, but yeah. They're not supposed to do that. It's not good. Yeah. Finally, Josh realizes that every time Vincent freaks out, something bad happens to the plane. And just like Vincent said earlier, you can't mess with the Reaper. He has to let her take him. And as Josh says this, the Reaper turns to him and nods her head, letting him know that what he just said is the truth. Josh tells Vincent to go with her. He will end up killing everyone else on the plane if he doesn't. And after a moment of thought, Vincent says,
So? I'm dead already, remember? What do I care?
Because of Vincent's multiple outbursts, the plane is now forced to land at the nearest airport to keep everyone safe. And Vincent teleports right back beside Josh, where Josh tries to convince him once again to move on to help save everyone else on the plane. And once again, Vincent isn't budging on the subject. Josh then turns to the Reaper and asks her if she can just let him go, but she just says,
"Doesn't work that way."
This little remark pisses Vincent off again, so he stands up and yells at the Reaper that he isn't going with her, which makes the other engine blow. The plane is slowly crashing now, and as it does this, Brenda tells the passengers to remain calm so that the pilot can focus on not crashing the plane. Vincent takes his seat once again, where Josh asks him,
Is this really what you want? To kill us all?
He's already lived his life. Even if it was a little short, at least it was a fun, lavish life. But Vincent doesn't think he lived life at all. He had a good job, a lot of money, a cool house, cars, and traveled the world in first class. But he didn't have the chance to make a true connection with someone else. He never had to worry about anybody else but himself. Not only did he not find real love, but he doesn't even think he has any real friends. He's not even sure if people will show up to his funeral, but he did do it to himself. He was so focused on being successful that he pushed everyone away from him.
The thing is, that can make you hard, untrusting, and selfish.
Josh confesses that he relates to Vincent. He's been pushing his dad away ever since his parents' divorce. Even though his dad has been trying to see him, Josh has been finding ways to avoid him. So Josh figured that if he acted like he didn't care that his dad was gone, then he would actually not care. But that's simply not true. So they've both been pretty selfish in their lives. Luckily, Josh is still young and alive, so he can still make some changes to be better. But Vincent can do one last thing to redeem himself. He can be unselfish for once in his life and move on, which in turn will save everyone else on the plane. And after a moment of thought, Vincent just says, "Okay," and tells the Reaper that he's ready to go. Then the curtains in the back open up to a bright light. And before he heads in, Vincent turns back to Josh and says,
"You're gonna be all right, kid."
And moves on. Instantly, the plane's power turns back on and the engines start working again. And then the sweet Miss Claire gives Josh a smile, letting him know that Vincent is going to be okay. We cut to the next morning. The plane lands and Brenda is tasked with walking with Josh to his dad. But before they head inside, Josh stops and tells Claire that he knows why she let him and Vincent meet. That they were similar in many ways and that they actually needed each other to help realize that. And in a way, it helped both of them move on. It helped Josh move on from his anger and resentment he had for his parents' divorce, and it helped Vincent move on from, well, living. And once again, she gives Josh a smile, letting him know that he's right. And he leaves her by saying,
Later.
Without a doubt.
and that's the end of the episode. What a surprisingly sweet episode, man. Now, the ending is a bit controversial. Not in like a bad way. It's just some people believe that Claire saying without a doubt is hinting that Josh is going to die young, so she'll see him real soon. But others think her saying this is that she'll see him when he dies because, well, everyone dies, you know? I personally think it's the latter. Like, she will see him again one day. And like mythical chef Josh always says,
every person has exactly two things in common. We all gotta eat and we're all gonna die.
But let me know which one you think it is. This episode is honestly one of the best episodes in the whole series. It's genuinely pretty scary at times, and it tells a great story and has a great lesson. It also has a tearjerker ending, and it tackles some pretty heavy topics like divorce, selfishness, and death. And they make it palatable and easy to follow. I mean, they absolutely cooked with this episode. They get you really immersed with the characters and setting, and they do little things throughout the episode that really help with this. Like Brenda not hearing Vincent at the beginning of the episode, or Claire changing into the Reaper every time lightning strikes. Or when Vincent is remembering how he died, you can see the red and blue lights of the cop cars as he pictures his last moments alive. It's a credible attention to detail that you don't see often with shows like this, or even in this show. You genuinely feel for both Vincent and Josh by the end of the episode. Vincent especially. At the beginning, he was just a straight up asshole to Josh, a mean guy, just straight unlikable, actually. And he moved on to an actually somewhat caring person by the end of the episode. He has a full arc, a very satisfying arc, in just the 20 minutes that this episode lasts. And that alone makes this one of the best episodes in my opinion. I also love how they portray death in this episode. Everything is super scary. Claire being in her old lady form and the Grim Reaper form are both equally scary throughout the whole episode. And the eerie factor slowly gets raised as the episode plays on, as things get more intense and the lightning and thunder get crazier. But at the end of the episode, when Vincent is ready to move on, she's really so gentle with him. She doesn't force him to go to the light or anything. She lets him take his time and even say goodbye to Josh. But then afterwards, she's just a sweet old lady who is simply doing her job. It lets kids know that death is a scary thing to think about, but in reality, it's actually kind of peaceful and nothing really to be scared of. Now let's talk about Josh. Just like Vincent, Josh gets his own arc throughout the episode. At the beginning of the episode, he seems like a bitter little kid who's only visiting his dad because he has to, not because he wants to. But in reality, he was just bottling up his emotions because it's easier to seem like you don't care than to actually face your emotions head on. And I actually really relate to Josh in this episode because my parents got a divorce when I was about his age, and I kind of acted the same way he did. I had, and still have, an attitude that you can't change what's happened in the past, so there's no reason to dwell on it. And sometimes that view on life works. I know from experience, but sometimes it's best if you do tackle things head on. So I just never talked about it, and eventually my life balanced out and I just stopped thinking about it. Luckily, he had the courage to actually talk with somebody about his feelings, and it probably will make him a stronger and better person. Granted, he did think he was going to die from a plane crash, but my point still stands. Okay, enough of the heavy stuff. Let's talk about something pretty cool. There are actually a couple of businessmen that were somewhat comic relief in the episode. Kinda, they had like a couple of lines. Anyways, the taller one is played by Dan Payne, and he's in a whole lot of the Haunting Hour episodes, but you probably don't recognize him. That's because he is usually in a costume. He's appeared already on the channel in the episode The Nightmare Inn as the dad werewolf in the end of the episode, and the ghoul in the Dead Bodies episode, as well as my goat, Big Yellow. Yep, this is the guy under the mask of Big Yellow. But he's also in the episode Golem as the Golem, and Officer Griggs in the episode The Cast. He's kind of an unappreciated actor for the series, and I just wanted to give him some love. So yeah, even though this doesn't seem like an interesting episode on the outside, it's an incredible episode. And that's why I had to become Kingnusmi for just one video to talk about it. Oh, a Haunting Hour episode about fear. Oh yeah, they're all about fear. You want to see something really scary? Do ya? Look at this! Hi everybody, my name's Kingnusmi. So I just got home from vacation and I haven't had the best upload schedule recently. So I decided I couldn't leave you guys hanging for another week again. And you wanna know what show brings everyone back? The Haunting Hour, baby. It's also been a month since my last Haunting Hour video, so I think it's about time for another one. And for those who don't know, The Haunting Hour is a kids anthology horror show that aired from 2010 to 2014 on a now defunct channel called The Hub. It was created by R.L. Stein, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show, Goosebumps. The Haunting Hour is known as a darker version of Goosebumps and is one of the scariest kid shows of all time, with its eerie visuals, some actually terrifying monsters, and pretty dark twist endings to the episodes. It takes some short stories from some of Stein's other books, like one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hour, as well as some stories from other authors, which is why I like this series a lot. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 11th episode of the first season, Fear Never Knocks. It's considered to be one of the best episodes of the series by fans and critics alike, and it is the second highest rated episode on IMDb, right behind my favorite episode, Scarecrow. Definitely go check that video out. It was when I was still kind of new to YouTube, so I'm a little shy in that video. It was directed by Peter DeLuise, who has directed some of the best episodes in the series. Like, literally, this dude does not miss. He directed Afraid of Clowns, Catching Cold, Creature Feature, Swarmin Norman, Stage Fright, and he probably has the best run of episodes out of any director in this series. He also directed the R.L. Stein movie Cabinet of Souls with Dove Cameron in it, so that's pretty cool. And the episode was written by Gillian Horvath, who also wrote the episode Night of the Mummy. This episode is also pretty popular because it is the first thing you see whenever you look up The Haunting Hour on Google. It's literally right there. It's either that or Lily D. There's no in between. So it's actually kind of surprising that I haven't talked about it yet. Why haven't I done that? This episode also has a pretty star-studded cast that I'm very excited to talk about, so let's quit yapping and get into the episode. We start this episode at a nice-ass house, where we meet one of our main characters, Ginny, as she's eavesdropping on her Grandpa George's therapy session, which isn't illegal, but morally it's not okay.
What are you doing? Hey, stop, I'm trying to listen. And how does that make you feel? What do you mean, how does it make me feel? It hurts, there's like 10 bullet holes in my chest!
And as she does that, her goofy ass little brother, Jack, comes downstairs fighting off some invisible demons. Jack tells his sister that they're not supposed to be downstairs while their grandpa is working, but she just waves him off like he's a little puppy, because these therapy sessions are supposed to be insanely private. You see, their grandpa is a therapist that helps people get over their fears, and Ginny finds this really interesting and she wants to know exactly how he does it. And this particular patient is scared of spiders, which isn't too crazy, but I personally know a lot of people that are afraid of spiders. Nah, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. That's too evil. No, seriously, that would be so mean. Finally, we get to actually see Grandpa George at work. He opens up this really old recorder disguised as a suitcase and makes his patient describe her fear of spiders. Not how the fear started or why she's scared of spiders, but what about spiders exactly makes her scared? What does she picture when he says the word spider? And as she describes her fear,
This is boring.
Jack gets them caught. Luckily, I don't think their Grandpa George minds too much. Okay, let's take a small break to talk about the actors real quick. Grandpa George is played by Matthew Walker, and sadly, he isn't in another Haunting Hour episode, but he is in a couple of episodes of The X-Files and The Outer Limits. And next, we had the little brother Jack, who is played by Quinn Lord, and he was also in the episode Pouf de Fromage as Bobby in The Haunting Hour. And fun fact, he's also Sam in the movie Trick or Treat. Yeah, that Sam, the iconic one. This one. That guy, I love Trick or Treat. When I found that out, I freaked out. If I just have him, hold on, have a Sam cam. Oh God, hold on, Sam cam, I gotta have Sam cam. But I just kept him there the whole video. He's staying right there for a little bit longer at least. And finally, Ginny is played by Ariel Winter, and she is also in the episode Headshot. Okay, I can't keep him. I tried. I can't keep him right there. He's blocking my teleprompter, guys. I can't read it. And finally, Ginny is played by Ariel Winter, and she was also in the episode Headshot. And I completely forgot to introduce her in that video, even though she is the main character. Aren't I just the greatest at my job? She was also in an incredibly popular Emmy Award-winning show, Sophia the First. Wow. What great talent. Okay, she's Alex Dunphy in Modern Family. And you guys can stop commenting that, okay? I know that she's in Modern Family. I've seen the show now. I actually really like the show. Phil is my favorite character because he's funny and awkward. And the show makes me laugh, okay? No shit, I get like maybe 10 comments a month on my marathon video and that video saying, no love for Ariel Winter? I'm sorry. Anyways, later that night, Grandpa George gives the kids their dinner.
I'm afraid it's macaroni and cheese again.
You're afraid of macaroni and cheese? He doesn't mean it that way.
I think my boy knows that. he doesn't mean it literally. Man, she just ruined a perfect dad joke too. They talk about their grandpa's job for a bit, where he mentions that he has an award dinner for his lifetime in psychiatry. Ginny is curious about how their grandpa helps people conquer their fears, and then she questions if he has any fears of his own, which he answers with a joke, but Ginny is being dead serious.
Really, what are you afraid of?
But he just says he's afraid of nothing, which I call BS because everyone's afraid of something. Except for me. Except for going outside. And smelling bad. And YouTube comment sections. Ginny is actually really interested in becoming a psychiatrist one day, so she questions her grandpa on how he gets people to get over their fears so easily. Of course, he just says he makes them face their fear, but even I know that's not true. Because she's been eavesdropping, Ginny knows that he just makes his patients say their fear into a tape recorder, and then they come out fearless. This is when Grandpa George suddenly changes the conversation and tells her that she shouldn't be a psychiatrist.
Maybe you should become a district attorney.
What's everyone talking about?
That's what I'm saying, Jack. I mean, psychiatrist, district attorney, these are just made up words. Grandpa George says that he just doesn't think she's old enough to fully understand what exactly psychiatrists do, but she is old enough to know what a district attorney does? What? Later, Grandpa George leaves to go to his award dinner, and he leaves the kids home alone, which might not be the best idea. While their grandpa is away, Ginny decides to be a little mischievous and tries to sneak into her grandpa's office. Jack tries to get her to stop, but just like before, she doesn't listen to him and pushes into the room. And since they're already in there, the two decide to just play psychiatrist for a little bit. But first, they have to start the recorder, which Ginny doesn't know how to do, so she just kind of pushes buttons until it does something. They accidentally rewind the tape that's already in the recorder, and we hear the patient from earlier say that she has trouble sleeping because
I think a spider's gonna crawl into my ear.
Ooh.
You is right. Now I'm gonna have that fear. And after she explains her fear, Grandpa George says that she's going to leave that fear here in the office. And when she gets home, it'll be gone for good. That's when Ginny sees a spider crawling on Jack's chair. He swipes at it and tries to get away, but when they turn around, the spider is gone. Ginny points out how strange it is that when the lady started talking about a spider, one appeared, which is a little weird, but they just brush the incident off as a bizarre coincidence, and then they decide to continue their game of therapy? Man, you know how bored you have to be as a kid to pretend you're a therapist? People dread therapy, and they're doing it for fun. But now it's their turn, so they start the tape, and Jack goes first. Ginny asks him what his worst fear is, which is easy for him. He has a fear of a
killer dog.
Like the smile dog? Oh, maybe Fifi the vampire dog from Goosebumps. He says when he was about 6 years old, he saw an old movie on TV about an evil dog that would rip people's throats out, and it scarred him for life. Oh, so you watched Cujo. That's just straight up Cujo. Anyways, Ginny finishes the session by saying what her grandpa always says. I want you to leave that fear in this office, and when you leave, the fear will be gone. And now it's time to switch. So they swap chairs, and Jack takes a moment to get in character. And then he asks his sister, what's her worst fear? Ginny talks about a reoccurring nightmare she has where she goes into her closet, and behind her clothes, a person is waiting for her. She can't see the lady's face because she wears pantyhose over her head, but she can see her long, sharp fingernails. And she can't explain it, but she has a strong feeling that the woman wants to scratch her eyes out. Ginny runs to escape every time, but no matter what she can do, there is no way out. Yeah, that's slightly more terrifying than Scary Dog. The story is so scary that it has Jack a bit spooked, and he tells his sister that he doesn't want to play anymore. But before they go, she wants to hear their voices on the recorder, so she rewinds the tape back and plays it. Jack is already too scared to listen to it again, so he covers his ears to not hear the spooky stories, baby. But as he's covering his ears, he hears a noise outside the room. Ginny claims that she didn't hear anything, so he just brushes it off as nothing, and they continue to listen to the tape. But maybe Ginny should listen to her little brother, because they have a visitor. Ginny listens to both stories over again, which has Jack very rattled, but now that they've got their stories out, they should feel better, right? But Jack doesn't feel better. He finds his grandpa's office creepy, and so does Ginny. So they decide to pack everything up and do their chores. And while they're doing their chores, Jack spots something horrifying. The evil dog is standing there, waiting for them. So the kids have a pretty rational reaction. I don't think anyone would do anything different, and they run upstairs and lock themselves in a room. And this is when Ginny finally puts the puzzle pieces together. Whenever they listen back to the tape of the lady and she said she was afraid of spiders, a spider appeared. And when they re-listened to the tape of their fears, they summoned a killer dog. But it should have also summoned the crazy lady. Ginny slowly turns around and makes her way over to the closet. Jack tries multiple times to stop her, but he can't. She's stuck in a trance-like state, and she has to go inside the closet. She slowly opens the closet door and makes her way inside, and uncovers. Terrified, the kids run to the front door to escape, but when they get there, the doorknobs are gone. there is no escape. Jack thinks quickly and tries to call their grandpa, but when he picks up the phone literally melts in his hands. Now they're stuck in there with nowhere to go and no way to call for help. And a killer dog and an eye-ripping maniac is closing in on them slowly. Ginny theorizes that if they face their fear, they must go away. So she closes her eyes and takes some deep breaths, calming herself down and making the maniac go away. She then helps her little brother do the same until both of the threats are completely gone.
Nicely done.
Who are you and how'd you get in the house? Ginny asks the mysterious man who he is, but rather than give her a name or even a nickname, he just says he's someone who will never leave, no matter how much breathing you do. He then asks to see their grandfather, who isn't home. Luckily, Ginny is smart and knows that she needs to lie to keep them both safe. So she tells the guy that their grandpa is downstairs in the basement with a shotgun. Okay, this isn't making me feel better about the situation. The man was just trying to see what Ginny would say if she were asked that question, but he knows exactly where he is. But luckily for the kids, he isn't there to kidnap them or murder them. He just wants their grandpa's magic box. And he knows that they know where it is because he knows that they've been playing with it. I mean, they just had a crazy lady and an evil dog trying to murder them. It's kind of obvious that they were playing with it.
Now tell me where it is before I do something unpleasant.
Whoa, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? When the kids realize that the creepy dude is talking about the recorder, they're taken aback a little bit. The man kind of insults their grandpa. He asks them, do you really think your grandpa got to this point by hard work and skill? And he reveals to them that their grandpa is a fraud, that he has used a magic box to gain his fortune.
What you children would call bogus!
Luckily for their kids, Gramps comes home before the evil guy can do something bad to them. And since the cat is already out of the bag, their grandpa is honest with the kids and he tells them that he acts fearless, but really, he's the most fearful guy around. This guy is scared of everything. And it turns out that Grandpa George and this creepy guy made a deal 30 years earlier. The deal was he would use a box to get everything he wanted, and all their grandpa really wanted was to help people, but he was too afraid to fail. But the creepy guy alludes that he had more nefarious reasons for taking the box. The creepy guy keeps hurtling insults at Grandpa, and Jack doesn't like that he's being mean to his grandpa. So he steps up to the evil guy and tells him to shut up. Damn! Bro must have some really horrible breath. Then the man reveals who he truly is to Ginny.
I am fear itself.
And since he is literally fear, that means he feeds on the fear of people. And the more scared they are, the stronger he is. And this family is starting to get a little bit too cocky for him, so he decides it's time to bring their worst fears back to terrify them. And to save his grandkids, George offers to give him back the box, which is exactly what fear wanted him to do. Ginny thinks quick on her feet, and she lies and says that she hid the box and only she knows where it is, so she has to go grab it. And while she's away, fear does what we all want to do from time to time: scare the shit out of little kids. Don't lie. You know it's fun. He starts saying really scary things to Jack as Ginny slowly comes back with the box, and she just simply refuses to give the box to Fear. So he does a very rational thing and threatens to open up the gates of hell and let every demon and monster rip the family to shreds and eat them. Isn't this supposed to be a kid's show? Ginny claims that she can't give Fear the box because she's too afraid to hand it over to him. So Fear stupidly asks her to tell him exactly what she's afraid of. So she sets the box down, turns it on, and says,
I'm afraid of fear. Of fear itself.
Suddenly Fear gets sucked into the magic box through a puff of smoke, and the box disappears.
Can we do that again?
No, are you crazy? Bro wants to do it again? Later that night, Jack has a hard time getting some sleep, so he visits his sister's room. And he asks her if their grandpa is a bad guy, but she assures them that their gramps is a great guy. He just made a mistake. And then he asks a question that I'm sure everyone is thinking right now.
Man who said he was fear, is he gone? Is fear gone?
Now that the fear guy is gone, is fear gone? To which Ginny says yes. So no one will ever feel fear again? Our phobia is just gone forever now? I guess not, because the last thing we see is Ginny hyperventilating at the thought of someone hiding in her closet. And that's where the episode ends. I see why this episode is so highly rated. I mean, it's got a good story, great visuals, it's a good concept, and it has a really creepy antagonist. But of course, even the best stories have a few things that I could nitpick about them. I think this episode would have been a lot better if it was a two-parter episode, just to have more time with the kids and the box, and maybe even show off a few more scary things before fear itself comes into the picture. Like, yeah, a murderer and a killer dog are scary, but this show has had much scarier stuff stuff in it. If it were a two-parter and they had more time, they could have been chased by a ghost or a living doll or a Marilyn Manson wannabe. Like maybe they listened to a few more tapes and released a few more scary things in the house. It would have upped the ante for them a little bit, and they would have to face multiple fears at one time rather than just one fear once. If that makes sense. I guess what I'm trying to say is, for an episode that is about fear, the monsters were a little lackluster. Luckily, this episode is saved by the literal embodiment of fear, who does a phenomenal job. On top of his physically creepy appearance with the pale skin, the eerie stare, creepy smile, and ominous clothes, he acts really unhinged the whole time he's on screen. I also love that they gave him the Morticia Addams treatment with the accents on the eyes. It's really cool. He really steals the show in this episode, and I wish we got to see a little bit more of him. Sadly, there's only so much you can do in a 20-minute time span. But if they had a two-parter, they could have done the first episode with them facing the fear and the second episode with them literally fighting fear himself. That would have been really cool. By the way, Fear is played by Christopher Heyerdahl. I think I said that right. And he has been on this channel before as the dude with the fucked up hair in the Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, The Tale of the 13th Floor. He also plays Nosferatu in the Midnight Madness episode as well. He also plays the demon Alistair in Supernatural. He's honestly in a lot of stuff. He's in a ton of stuff. You probably have seen him around somewhere, somehow. But overall, I really like this episode. I don't think it's in my top 5, which is obviously Scarecrow, Dreamcatcher, Flight, Afraid of Clowns, and Pumpkinheads, but it might be in the top 10. Let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below. Masks. They've been used for centuries for ceremonies, hunting, sports, wars, as well as entertainment, decoration. But nowadays we kind of use them for scaring people one day a year. Unless you're a serial killer. There are tons of scary and famous masks out. Ghostface, Michael Myers, MF Doom, The Mask. Even our favorite show, Goosebumps, has a very famous mask. You may have heard of it. It's called, The Haunted Mask. Probably the most famous episode and story out of Goosebumps. Well, what if I told you that Stein wrote another story about a scary mask, and it might be better than his first one? I'd be lying, it's not better, but it's still pretty interesting. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Haunting Hour episode, The Black Mask. And yes, there is a Batman villain with the same name, and no, they're not similar. If you are new here and don't know what The Haunting Hour is, it's a kids horror anthology show that aired from 2010 to 2014 on a now defunct channel called The Hub. It was created by R.L. Stein, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show, Goosebumps. The Haunting Hour is known as a darker version of Goosebumps and is one of the scariest kid shows of all time. With its eerie visuals, some actually terrifying monsters, and pretty dark twist endings to the episodes, the show really does have it all. They take short stories from some of Stein's other books, like one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hour. I just realized they're not in my background. Today we're taking a look at the 13th episode of the series, The Black Mask. The episode is based off of one of the short stories in the Nightmare Hour book, and it has the lamest art in the book. I mean, I guess it's kinda cool, but this is the same book that has this, and this, and this. Yeah, it's probably the least scary cover, let's be honest. The show does a pretty good job at adapting the story, but of course there are some differences that we will go over at the end of the video. And just a heads up, this is one of the few episodes in the series where the actors don't appear in another episode of The Haunting Hour, but it does have someone that you might recognize. Madison Pettis plays Julie in this episode, and she was in another R.L. Stein movie, mostly ghostly, as Tara. She was also all over Disney Channel in the early 2000s, and a really popular character in the greatest show of all time, Cory in the House, as well as one of the main characters in the greatest sports movie of all time, The Game Plan. Did I just make the same joke twice in a row? You bet your ass I did. But that's all I have for an intro, so let's quit yapping and get into the episode. We start the episode with these three hooligans trying to break into a creepy old house that has a window open for some reason. The one on the lookout is named Rob, and he's the only one that seems to have an issue with them breaking and entering. But the lockpicker, Bill, claims that the house has been empty for many years, so they shouldn't be scared of anything. And as he says that, Bill manages to pick the lock with his library card. Like, I know you could do that with like regular doors, but how the hell did he pick the deadbolt with that? Inside, the house is pretty eerie, and Bill claims that the house is over 100 years old, so it's destined to be a little creepy inside. And they take a look around at all the old, odd stuff that was left behind by the previous owner. Rob is a bit of a scaredy cat, and he's obviously terrified of the house, and it only gets worse when the other two tell the legend that is attached to the house. They claim that a woman died in the house while waiting for her dead husband to return home. He was an explorer, but he vanished during an expedition. So she lived there alone, patiently waiting, sitting by the window,
till the day she died.
Okay, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but that shit didn't happen. If it wasn't already obvious, they're just trying to scare Rob because he's a little scaredy cat. I'm sure the woman that lived there may have lost her husband, but then just lived her life out in the house as a hoarder. At least she hoards interesting stuff and not literal trash. The kids make their way down into the creepy old basement, where they immediately see a lot of stuff and start rummaging through it like it's their own. But while they're looking around, Rob notices that there's a furnace. And it's on. Well, they don't mention that it's on, but to me, that's an instant indicator that someone's probably in the house with them. That or there's somebody that is coming around and checking on the house every so often. They all find some interesting things like vintage clothes, old toys, and board games. And Bill notices that a lot of the stuff is souvenirs from around the world. So maybe the story he told earlier was true. I'm still skeptical. What? They're old and retired. What if they did some traveling to pass the time? Old people do it all the time. As they look around, Bill finds something very interesting. It looks like a mask. A pretty creepy mask. Kind of looks like they just molded it out of an old man's face. It's eerie. Bill throws the mask on for a second, and he sees two kids dressed in really old clothes, almost like pilgrimish clothing. It only lasts for what seems like a couple of seconds, but based off of his friends' reactions, it could have been a little more time. Bill couldn't hear anything his friends were saying or see anything they were doing while the mask was on, and he's just confused about what just happened to him. He explains to his friends what he saw, but they didn't see two kids, and they have no idea what he's talking about. And of course, he's already proven himself to be a bit of a prankster, so they just think he's pulling another prank trying to scare them. And even though he's acting pretty freaked out, they don't believe him. So Julie proves that he's pranking them by also putting on the mask. And of course, the same thing happens to her, except she can see the kids setting up and playing the board game. Once again, it only lasts a couple of seconds until Bill pulls her out of the vision again so they can discuss what it could possibly mean. Based on the way everything looked, they think it happened in the past, maybe even when the house was first built 100 years ago. Well, by they, I mean Bill and Julie, because Rob has no idea what's going on still. So Julie tells him,
I think the black mask has special power.
Oh, are you sure that's black? It looks a little more green to me, honestly. Maybe it was to try and avoid all the blackface comments that I'm still going to get on this YouTube video. Yeah, I know you're thinking of a blackface joke. Do better. The mask obviously has the power to let you see into the past, and of course Rob wants to give it a spin. Despite his friends warning him, he puts on the mask and sees the kids playing the game, then running and hiding from someone, who rolls out a mat of weapons with a creepy smile across his face. This vision freaks Rob out completely. Probably should have listened to his friends. And he slams the mask down on the table and tells them that he saw the kids and a creepy man with a lot of sharp tools.
He had all those pointy tools, like Jack the Ripper or something.
Jack the Ripper?
Well, what if I was Jack the Ripper?
I hate that that is immediately what I think of now when I hear Jack the Ripper. Right after Rob tells them what he saw, they hear some loud banging coming from upstairs. So they finally grow some brains and sneak out of the house, while theorizing it was something as simple as window shutters banging on the windows, or the house being haunted.
Black mask is haunted. Why not the little house?
He's got a point, you know. Nevertheless, they quietly make their way out, and just in time, because they weren't alone. A man walks over and grabs a hammer with the same creepy smile that Rob saw in the vision earlier. Told ya. I was not surprised at this reveal at all. Why would somebody leave a lit fire in a furnace if no one was there? What are they gonna warm up? The rats? The bugs? Bill and Rob go to a house. Hopefully it's one of their houses. Of course, they're still talking about the weird past-seeing mask and why it was showing them the kids in the basement. Even with their two big brains working together, they ultimately don't know how it works unless they investigate it for themselves. Luckily for us, Bill has already shoved it in his backpack. Good job, kleptomaniac. He wants to see what it will show them if he puts it on in his room. So he once again slides the mask on and it doesn't work. It seems to only work inside the old house. They're both a little bummed that it doesn't work everywhere, but Rob does open up a little bit and he says that he feels a strange connection to the kids that he saw in the mask. And he feels a strong need to help them. And Bill feels the same way. Cut back to the outside of the house and they aren't there for nefarious reasons this time. They just want to put the creepy mask back where it belongs and then leave. But as they were about to do that, Julie stops them and talks about how she also feels a connection to the kids. And she just wants to put the mask on one more time and see if she can possibly help them. It is a little strange that they all had this weird need to help the kids. So they do what she asks and they hand her the mask and she sees a vision of the kids dying. Cut to them outside of the house looking hella bummed out. Julie is pretty upset about what she saw, but she still didn't see the creepy man that Rob claimed he saw in his vision. Just the ceiling caving in on all the kids.
None of this makes any sense.
You're telling me, man. I mean, we have the kids playing a game and then hiding from a creepy dude, and then the roof caves in and kills them all. Well, there's a little bit of a story there, actually. They're still seriously confused about why the mask is showing them these images and why it's choosing them. Until Rob theorizes that maybe the mask wants them to go back in time and save the kids. Somehow. He thinks that if maybe they could send them a message to somehow warn them to not go in the basement, then maybe the mask can give them the message with its wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. It sounds a bit far-fetched, but it just might work. So Bill goes back into the creepy house alone this time, and he drops the note off in the board game that they saw the kids playing. Then to check and see if their theory worked, he has to put the mask on one last time. So he slides the mask on his head and sees both the foundation cracking and the creepy guy attacking the kids. Freaked out, he drops the mask and runs outside to meet up with the other two. He says the note didn't work, so there has to be another way to help them. But that's when they hear banging nearby. They walk around the corner and they see a man putting up a sign in the yard, and Rob instantly recognizes him as the man in the basement. But that doesn't make any sense because that would mean the man was at the house 100 years ago. So there's no way he could still be alive today.
Then he must be a ghost.
Or their family has been caretakers of the house for over 100 years. It happens. He could just be a great-great-grandson to the creepy guy that was in the vision. But like I said before, Rob is a scaredy cat and he gets too freaked out by the sight of the creepy guy and skedaddles his way back home. While Julie and Bill discover that the house has been sold. And that means everything will either be moved out or thrown away really soon. So if they want to help the kids, they have to do it ASAP. They head down into the basement to try and think of a way to communicate with them.
Hello? Hello, is anyone there?
Really, dude? You might as well have done this. Hello? Oh, I didn't expect you to be here. Yeah, sure, I'll hold. Bill theorizes that if they recreate the scene that they see in the mask, then maybe the mask will bring the past to them, and that will let them help the kids out. So they call up Rob to come help them set up the basement, and even though he's still scared of the smiling man, he decides to be brave and come help. Let's go, buddy. Good for you, bad. Good for you. So Rob sneaks his way back into the house and finds that they're already almost finished setting it up. And they're also dressed like the people in the vision. And suddenly things start looking a little too familiar to Rob. Suddenly they hear a loud noise coming from upstairs. So they quickly hide as the smiling man slowly makes his way down the stairs and rolls his tools out beside the furnace. And once again, things are looking a little too familiar to Rob. The man somehow sees the kids in their amazing hiding spots. I'm surprised they even saw them. They're almost camouflaged. That's when the furnace begins to hiss and shake, and it explodes. Rob then realizes that they were wrong. They weren't there to save the kids from dying, but save the man from dying. So he tackles the old guy out of the way and saves him from being crushed by the pillar. Then everything suddenly makes sense. They cared about the kids because they were the kids. And the mask wasn't showing them the past, but it was showing them the future. And that's where the episode ends. It's kind of an abrupt ending, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it just cuts off, and I was like, that's it? But I like this episode. It's a very simple episode, got a simple plot, and a fun MacGuffin with kind of a nice twist at the end. I will say, I think this is probably the lamest episode out of the first 2 seasons of the show. I mean, it does have pretty tough competition with Lily D, Dreamcatcher, Scarecrow, Mascot, Pumpkinheads. I can go on. But I think the mask is really fun and really eerie. But nothing else in the episode was really spooky at all. I think it would have been fun if they added like ghost kids or something that they should save. Or maybe they get a visit from the previous owner who is now a ghost and she points them to the mask to save the handyman. I don't know, just give me a little something to spice things up. A lot of this episode is just the kids sitting around saying the same things over and over again, and then throwing mildly funny jokes here and there.
I prefer chic over creep.
Which is my job. Don't try to take my job away, Haunting Hour. That's a threat. Now, I know this is a kid's show, and I shouldn't expect, like, Conjuring level scary all the time from this show, but The Haunting Hour is known for having some pretty creepy stuff that rivals even some adult horror movies. So comparing it to other episodes within the series, this episode is a little underwhelming. But I do like how when they look inside of the mask, it looks like an old film reel. I can kind of see why it tricked the kids into thinking it was a vision from the past rather than the future. And I also don't understand how all of them were seeing visions from Rob's POV. Shouldn't they see what happened from their own POV when they put the mask on? I think that would make more sense, right? But yeah, I was a little upset about how lame this episode was because the story is actually pretty scary. I do think the episode adapted the story well, detail-wise at least, but they just failed to capture the same terror that the story had in the episode. For one, the story actually happens in Robbie's house. They just moved into a really old house and the kids find the mask in the basement. So it kind of hits harder knowing that something horrific happened in his house. Kind of adds a little bit more tension because, you know, it happened just downstairs. It's a little scary that people died downstairs. There's also better lore to the house than in the episode. And rather than the handyman just being a mysterious figure that appears at one point in the story, he actually has a name and talks to the kids. He tells Robbie a story about a little girl who actually fell into the furnace and burned alive. Okay, I can see why they didn't put that one in the episode. Granted, he does admit that that story was fake, but still, it's a little intense. And the story ends very differently from the episode. Instead of the kids saving someone's life, they die. Yeah, I'm not kidding. A pillar falls on them and all 4 of them die. The roof just caves in and kills them. So yeah, it's probably a good change that they saved somebody. I mean, Dead Bodies, the episode Dead Bodies got so much backlash that they had to make another episode reversing what they did. So just imagine if they killed 3 kids in this episode. That'd been crazy. Also, the mask in this story is very different. Rather than a hard plastic, maybe ceramic mask? What is this mask made of? It's a small piece of cloth that just goes over your eyes, kind of like Zorro or the Ninja Turtles. But I do like that they changed the mask. It's actually pretty scary in the episode. It's kind of got like an uncanny vibe kind of thing going on. And I think it would have looked really goofy if they just had a cloth going over their eyes like they did in the story. Also, another detail that you probably didn't know is there was another character in the story. It's a girl named Valerie. She's just not in the episode at all. But she doesn't do much, so I can see why they just omitted her. I also think this episode has the least amount of cast members in it. There's only 4. It's the 3 kids and the creepy old guy. There's only 4 in this episode. So yeah, the story was actually really good, really creepy. I could see why they wanted to make an episode out of it, but I think the little changes that they made just didn't work out as they intended, and it kind of hindered the episode a little bit. Like I said, if they kept the story inside of one of the kids' houses, it would have felt more personal and threatening than it being a random house on their street. They even had somewhat of a lame excuse for them wanting to help the kids in the episode. I feel a connection with them. Really? If I saw a vision of someone being killed from a collapsing pillar in the room I'm in, I'm getting the heck out of there. But yeah, good story in theory, but execution didn't do so well. I'm sorry that I didn't like it. I know a lot of people love this episode, but it just didn't hit for me. Make sure you read the short story. It's actually pretty good. I actually really liked it. Make sure you read all the stories in the Nightmare Hour. They're all really good. Yay, more of the Haunting Hour! I decided that I missed talking about this show, so I decided to make this whole month about the Haunting Hour. We're doing Haunting Hour month, everybody! I also got a really cool Haunting Hour poster recently. Look at it. Pretty sick. It's got all our favorite dudes on it. Now, I asked you guys which episode of the Haunting Hour you'd like to see me talk about, but I made a little oopsie. See, I promised my friend Days here that I would put their favorite episode, Lovecraft's Woods, on the poll. And I completely forgot to do that. And I just felt so terrible that I promised them that I'd put it on the poll, and then I just didn't do it like an idiot. So I decided to just go ahead and make this video for them, and hopefully that makes up for my mistake. But next week we'll be checking out Best Friend Forever, so stay tuned for that. But for anyone who's new here and doesn't know The Haunting Hour is a kids anthology horror show that had 76 episodes and aired from 2010 to 2014 on a now defunct channel called The Hub. It was created by R.L. Stein, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show Goosebumps, and The Haunting Hour is known as a darker version of Goosebumps, and in my opinion is one of the scariest kid shows of all time. It's got some seriously eerie visuals, some actually terrifying monsters, and pretty dark twist endings to the episodes, including this one we're talking about today. They take short stories from some of Stein's other books, like one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hour, and not to be confused with The Nightmare Room, which is another R.L. Stein property. They're 2 different things. I've had people confusing them in my comments here recently. Today we're taking a look at Lovecraft's Woods, the 19th episode of the 3rd season. It was directed by Neil Fernley, who directed 26 of the 76 episodes in the show, including some of the best ones like Really You, Pumpkinheads, Dreamcatcher, and most of season 3. The episode was written by Brandon Allman, who only wrote one other episode for the show called Long Live Rock and Roll, but he did write for a lot of Marvel animated shows and a few of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shows. And despite its name, it really has nothing to do with Lovecraftian horror. That doesn't mean it's a bad episode though. I actually find the episode really interesting and kind of haunting, but it's not really Lovecraftian in my eyes. Usually Lovecraftian horror is pretty cosmic and emphasizes the unknowable or the incomprehensible. It doesn't really use monsters and gores to get its scares across. Not saying there aren't monsters in Lovecraftian horror. Some of the most iconic monsters are from Lovecraftian horror actually. But normally his stories are to signify how insignificant humans are. To make you feel a lot of dread, make you feel useless. And this episode does dabble into the unknown nature of nature, but nothing truly otherworldly happens, and I can't really call it cosmic or Lovecraftian. I consider it to be more psychological than cosmic horror for sure. I think they just wanted to use his name because he's one of the biggest names in horror media. I mean, he has a whole genre named after him, but we can discuss that later. Let's quit yapping and check out the episode. We'll start the episode by meeting our only characters in this episode, and they're taking a little shortcut through the woods to get to a party, but they've been walking for a while and still haven't made it out. What's up with kids and taking shortcuts through the woods in these shows? It never goes well. You remember what happened to Ricky in Calling All Creeps? Yeah, he got attacked by monsters. But surely that won't happen in this episode, right? The only dude in the group, Nick, mentions that it seems like the forest looks the same, almost like they're just walking in circles. And his friend Margaret just says what they're all secretly thinking.
I would say, unequivocally, we are completely lost.
Okay, Miss Smarty Pants, you couldn't just say, I'm certain we are lost? What is this, Game of Thrones? Nick mentions that he's taken this shortcut through the woods a lot, and he has never, ever gotten lost. I mean, there is a pretty clear path for them to follow. But their goth friend, Erica, is just tired of walking through the creepy woods and just wants to get to this party.
I'm not a goth, I'm just changing it up a little, you know, being unique.
You're being unique? Girl, you just dyed your hair black and then put on all the black clothes laying around you. You know better than the guys and girls who did the same thing on TikTok. At least you didn't dye half your head though. But now that we've met everyone, let's talk about the actors real quick. Nick is played by Joshua J. Ballard, and he was also in the episode Swarmin Norman as Tyler. Then we have Margaret here, and she sadly isn't in another episode of the show. Actually, this was her last acting gig ever. She doesn't have anything else. She was just in this episode and then in a movie called A Dog Named Duke that I'm sure won't bring me to tears if I watch it. Then we have our goth girl, Erica, and she's played by Jess McLeod, and she was Bonnie in the episode Alien Candy. She's also in one of my favorite Christmas horror movies, It's a Wonderful Knife, and she did an incredible job in that movie, so I was pretty excited when I saw her in this episode. Anyways, Nick mentions that the woods really aren't that big and that they should have made it out by now. But I know what you're thinking. Bro, just use Google Maps on your phone. Well, this is a fictional world where Google Maps doesn't exist, bozo. They also don't have cell service, so it wouldn't work anyways. Also, I'm sorry for calling you a bozo. That was a little out of line. I don't know why I did that. Erica isn't even concerned that they're lost in the woods. She's just upset that she can't go to this lame-ass party. But Nick doesn't even want to go to this party. He just wants to stay at home and play video games.
I could be home right now crushing some online robo-exploder.
Once again, I want to play these fictional video games in these TV shows. Margaret doesn't want to go to the party either. She says that she has a lot of homework she needs to do.
All you do is study, Margaret. And Nick, you play video games so much you look pixelated. Why do you think everyone calls you Virtual Nick?
Yo, what's up with all the hating? And you have a big forehead. See, I can do it too. And you can't insult me because you don't even know me.
You mean friendless and antisocial?
What the hell, man? Apparently Erica has been trying way too hard to be cool and fit in, while also trying to be unique and her own person. Just a couple of months ago, they were all great friends and they would play video games together and geek out together. But here recently, she's been changing her personality weekly, and she's slowly been ripping this friend group apart. Nick and Margaret even point out that they didn't even want to go to the party, but she drugged them out into the woods anyways, and now they're lost. But not alone. They all hear something snap a big stick nearby. Nick calls out to see if anything's nearby and doesn't get an answer, but it's probably best that he didn't. This little incident really spooks Margaret to the point where she just wants to go home. She doesn't care about a stupid party, and she just turns around and heads out of the woods. And after a while of walking, Nick decides to tell us the story of why they call it Lovecraft's Woods. Way back in the day, in the 1930s, a man named Elijah Lovecraft and his wife decided to take a shortcut through the woods, just like they're doing right now. They were lost for hours in a patch of the woods that shouldn't take long to get through, but in the end, only Miss Lovecraft made it out. And when she had finally made it out and caught up with her family, she claimed that it had only been 3 hours for her, but her sister told her that she has been missing for 3 years.
Great. We've been walking for 2 hours. Does that mean we've been lost for 2 years?
I don't want to burst your bubble or anything, but Miss Lovecraft claims that a ghoul captured Elijah Lovecraft and took him deeper into the woods where he never made it out. And if they're not careful, the same thing can happen to them. The two girls brush off his little tall tale, and Erica checks her phone to see if they found any service. And she notices that her phone says it's 9:30 p.m., but it's not even dark outside, so there's no way it's 9 p.m. But what's even crazier is Nick's phone says it's 3 a.m. Surely there's a logical explanation to this, and Margaret thinks it could be a possible satellite interference that is making their phones bug out. But I don't think satellites can do that. I'm no expert here, but I think you set the time on your phone yourself. So how could a satellite change something hardwired into your phone? What the hell was that? This strange scream freaks the kids out so much that they run until they find a tree that they've already passed by multiple times. It's the tree with the sign on it that has the name of the woods. They're all confused and don't know how they got so turned around, but it doesn't really matter right now because they're being chased by something. They sprint through the dense forest until they once again end up at the tree with the sign. Well, since that didn't work, how about we run the other way?
No!
It looks like the woods won't let them out. Hey, I was going to say that. They try to gather themselves together and figure out what's going on, but the goblin has other plans. So they do what they've been doing this whole time and they run away again until they find a hiding spot underneath a tree, where Erica accidentally cuts herself on one of the sharp branches. But a little cut is the least of their worries right now. They need to find a new path to escape this weird loop that they're stuck in. Hey, maybe this way will work. Never mind. We spend a couple more minutes watching them running and running and running while the creepy goblin chases them down until they finally find a cabin to hide in. They all make their way inside and lock the creepy monster out and hold the door shut until everything calms down, where they now explore their new hideout and discover that the cabin is also pretty strange because they're using this lamp for light, but it's not plugged into anything. But hey, at least it works, right? So they look around for something to protect themselves from the monster while Erica checks out her scratch and sees it's getting pretty bad very fast. Smarty Pants Margaret starts to theorize what could be happening to them, and her theories don't sound very grounded in reality. She suggests that maybe they've been pulled into a time loop or even thrown into another dimension where they're stuck in these woods, but there's really no way to know for sure. And while they're talking, Nick finds a doll keychain that kind of looks like Ruby Gloom if she had dark hair, and they compare the Emo Labubu to one of Erica's keychains, and they're exactly the same. There is no way that this could be just a coincidence. So maybe they're actually in a time loop like Margaret theorized. And the previous Erica left her keychain there as a sign to tell them. So they look around the cabin for more clues where they find a hand-drawn map of the woods they're stuck in. And using this map, they could probably find their way out of the woods. Margaret is already getting cabin fever after just 10 minutes, and she wants to try and use the map as an escape method. But reasonably, the other two are still pretty scared to leave the cabin. I mean, they were being chased by a weird monster just 10 minutes ago. But Margaret gives them a little pep talk and they grab their weapons and they bravely push their way outside. But the monster isn't there anymore. Or so they thought. Don't worry, guys. It's a 3v1. You guys can definitely take it. Hit it with the hammer, Margaret. Well, that didn't work, so they head back inside the shack and hold the door closed until the ghoul stops banging on the door. And while they were holding the door shut, Margaret spots a journal on the table that wasn't there just before. And when things calm down again, they open the journal to find a single entry. Margaret reads the entry aloud, and it's all things that they have mentioned before. It confirms their suspicion of them being in a time loop, but things start to get very weird when the author of the entry starts talking about transforming into the monster. And as Margaret reads on, Erica slowly starts to realize the entry was written by her. And as she realizes this, the monster begins to bang on the door once again. Very loud this time. But Erica tells them to just ignore it and tells Margaret to keep reading. It talks about how quickly things began to change for her. First, her nails grew really long, and then her fangs grew so big that she couldn't speak anymore. And as she reads this, we get a quick shot of the monster outside. And it doesn't seem like it wants to come in and hurt them, but rather it's trying to stop Margaret from reading the entry. But it doesn't work. She reads on, and we learn that the tree that cut Erica infected her. And the woods that they are lost in are pure evil. And the last line of the note reads,
"Why did I ever convince Margaret and Nick to go to that stupid party?"
Confirming unequivocally that the person who wrote this was Erica. And the monster outside is her as well. Margaret takes another look at Erica's arm, and it's only gotten worse. It's so gross, especially with the weird noises they added.
No. No.
It's almost as bad as the creature feature fingernail. That still tops it. That's probably the grossest thing the show has ever done, dude. I hate that scene. And Erica refuses to believe that she's going to turn into this horrific monster. But she has to face the music soon because the process has already started. She tells her friends to run, escape while they can, which they begin to do. They make it pretty far away from the cabin, but Margaret stops Nick and tells them they have to go back and stay with her and help her. Maybe that's the way to break the loop. Maybe sticking together and being a good friend will overpower the evil woods and they'll be able to escape. But Nick doesn't think it's a very good idea. He thinks that they should escape the forest and then bring someone back to help Erica. Margaret doesn't like leaving her friend behind, but she listens to Nick and they escape the woods together. Next, we cut back to Erica, who has now fully transformed into the goblin. She stares at herself in the mirror in disbelief. She's unable to speak. She can only grunt. She notices the notebook on the table and writes down the entry that we just heard moments ago. Then we cut back to the woods, and it looks like Margaret and Nick didn't escape the loop. Erica can hear them arguing outside, and she tries her best to track them down again. And then when she does find them, she hides, probably afraid to show them what she's turned into. But just like before, Erica accidentally snaps a stick, gaining the attention of the group, but this time, we get a little more detail. We see that Erica locked eyes with herself in that moment before the monster Erica turns around and just walks away. And that's where the episode ends. It got really depressing really quick there at the end. This episode is actually shockingly really good. Season 3 of The Haunting Hour is really fun to me because you'll have some episodes like Grandpire's Uncle Howie or My Robot, you know, goofy, silly episodes of the show. And then you'll have some of the actually scary, good episodes like The Weeping Woman, Spaceman, or Gollum. And this episode is definitely in the latter side of them. I admit I expected more cosmic-y horror things to happen, and finding out that they just named the woods after a dude with the last name Lovecraft was kind of disappointing, I will admit, but everything else in this episode is pretty great. It's all you want out of The Haunting Hour. It's a really simple but effective story that sits with you for a while, and this episode definitely does sit with you for a while, especially when you start thinking about how long the kids have been in the woods, how many times have they been through this time loop, and how they're going to break it. Why did the woods choose Erica to turn into the goblin? Do they have to wait for someone else to enter the woods before they can make their escape? How many people have been stuck in this time loop before them? So many questions unanswered, and I like that. I know a lot of people just want all of the answers all of the time, but some of the best horror is some of the most mysterious horror. And the mystery behind the woods is what makes this episode so good and interesting. Even though Erica was a total asshole in the beginning, I don't think her being a little mean to her friends warranted her being turned into a hideous monster and forced to forever scare her friends away. I just think that fate is a little harsh, you know? I mean, there's been worse kids on The Haunting Hour that probably deserved it more than her. It also really sucks now knowing that the screaming and stuff they heard earlier in the episode that was kind of scary was actually just Erica trying to communicate with her friends in some way, or it even could have been her just freaking out because she doesn't know what to do. It's truly one of the worst and saddest fates in the show. Also, Jess McLeod was nominated for a Leo Award because of this episode, and so was the director Neil Fernley. Neil did win an award for this episode, actually, so it does have one award, but sadly Jess didn't win an award for it. She lost to an episode of Spooksville, which I really need to make another video on. I'm honestly really shocked this episode isn't more popular. I found it better than most of the other episodes you guys beg me to talk about. And the acting in this isn't so bad. There's a few like weird scenes, like them screaming can be a little cheesy, but that's pretty much it, honestly. I also really love how this episode was shot. They used the cinematography to give us hints that they were looping before the big reveal happened. And the biggest giveaway is the sign, of course. They show that sign multiple times in the episode. But also throughout the episode, it kind of felt like the woods were slowly consuming the kids. Like they kept finding themselves in denser and denser woods to give a more eerie, claustrophobic vibe. It was just so good. They did an incredible job with that. The monster design was also incredible. It's not so different that you can't recognize Erica after you know, but it is different enough where you probably won't know it's her until the reveal, and I love that. I also love the pitch black eyes. I think that's a nice touch. Now, I did mention earlier that I feel like this episode is more psychological horror than anything, and I still stand by that. It definitely messes with your brain a bit. But I do want to point out that there is a little dash of Lovecraftian horror in there. All right, listen to me 1 second. Let me explain myself. Usually when someone says something is Lovecraftian, they mean like a giant incomprehensible being like Cthulhu or Azathoth. But in reality, Lovecraftian horror has a lot to do with like cosmic dread or the insignificance of humanity, like I said earlier. And the episode does have a touch of that. There is some weird force keeping these kids trapped in the mysterious woods for who knows how long, for no reason it seems. And it also seems like no matter what they do, they'll never be able to escape. If that doesn't cause a bit of dread and show you how powerless humans are, I don't know what does. But I do wish it had more of a cosmic-y horror feeling to it in the episode, but I really, really enjoy what we got. And I want everybody to thank my homie Days for requesting it so many times. And also, don't think because you begged me to talk about an episode, I'm gonna do it. I'm actually doing this because Days wasn't annoying about it. They would like comment about something on the video I made, they would like actually have a conversation with me, and then they'll just put day whatever of asking for Lovecraft's Woods. Simple as that. So, if you're not annoying about it, maybe it'll happen to you too. But let me know what you guys think about the episode in the comments below. Welcome to the second week of Haunting Hour month. Monthing Hour. The Haunting Month. Hovember. Not Hovember. No, not Hovember. It's Hovember, everybody. If you missed last week's video, I mentioned that I miss talking about the Haunting Hour all the time. So this whole month, I'm going to be talking about the show, whether you like it or not. Also, I'm hoping to keep my title as the Haunting Hour guy. Not that anybody's fighting for it, but I just want to make sure you guys know who I am. And if you aren't aware about The Haunting Hour, it is a kids horror anthology show that had 76 episodes and aired from 2010 to 2014 on a now defunct channel called The Hub. Go ahead and type your Pornhub joke. That's very funny. It was created by R.L. Stein, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show, Goosebumps. The Haunting Hour is known as a darker version of Goosebumps and is one of the scariest kid shows of all time, because it has some of the eeriest visuals, some actually terrifying monsters, and some pretty dark twist endings to the episodes. They take short stories from some of Stein's other books, like one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hours for the episodes in the show. And a couple of weeks ago, I asked you guys what episode of The Haunting Hour you'd like to see, and you guys voted for Best Friend Forever. Best Friend Forever is the 12th episode of the first season of the show. We are slowly chipping away at that first season, dude. After this video, I think I'll have just 6 episodes in the first season to talk about, so maybe we'll be done with that very soon. Best Friend Forever was directed by Jason Furukawa, who was mainly the first assistant director for the show and many other shows and some movies as well, including Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which was pretty awesome to figure out. But he did step up and direct a few episodes himself, those being this episode, Pool Shark, Mascot, and Dead Bodies. Some of my favorite episodes, actually. Well, Mascot and Dead Bodies. Pool Shark, not so much. It's a fine episode. It's just fine. It's not like it's bad, it's just okay. I personally really like this episode, mostly because of its unique take on zombies, which is something that has been beaten to death and then re-death in the media, and they're still making zombie shows. When are they gonna take the hint that we're not interested anymore? Writers Eric Patterson and Jessica Scott wanted to make an episode about a pet that you could keep alive forever. So of course they had to make the pet a zombie because zombies have a knack for living a very long time. I wonder how they do that. And this was the first of many episodes written by the duo that wrote 14 episodes in total together for the show. The episode also stars Nolan Gold as our main character, Jack Pierce. Nolan was on this channel before in the St. Patty's episode, Lots of Luck, as Gregory, but you probably know him as Luke Dunphy in the popular show Modern Family. He was just so adorable in the first few seasons of Modern Family, and he's also very adorable in this episode, so let's quit yapping and get into it. We start the episode by meeting Jack and his mom, who we will call Jack's mom. She makes him a delicious bowl of corn shooters? That sounds like the worst cereal ever. That's like bran if it tried to act cool. And while she makes him a bowl, Jack sets up a nice pre-made presentation to convince his mom that he should get a puppy. But she doesn't want to hear anything until he scarfs down his food. And he quite literally inhales the cereal. Slow down, kid, you're gonna choke! Even though Jack has taken all this time to make a presentation for his mom, she doesn't want to hear him out because she already knows for a fact that he is not ready for a dog. You see, our boy Jack here has had bad luck with every single pet that he's had. He's already had a lizard, hamster, and rabbit, but they've
all died.
Well, dang, I was looking for a nicer way to say that. And it really doesn't help that Jack saw them as experiments.
I learned many valuable lessons from my previous experiments.
They weren't experiments, Jack. They were pets.
Yeah, he really isn't helping his case here, is he? Needless to say, there's really nothing he can say or do to prove to his mom that he is ready to have a dog. But she tells him she will think about it if he doesn't bug her about it. Pretty much it's a mom's way of saying, no, now leave me alone. Also, you might recognize Jack's mom because it's your mom. No, I'm kidding, obviously. She's played by Anne Openshaw, and she's been a mother to many kids in this show, including the episodes Pumpkinhead and Intruders. We cut to later that day, and we meet Jack's bully, Mitch, who isn't some kid that beats him up and steals his lunch money or anything, but he's some scrawny geek who bullies him for not being as smart as him or as good at World of Warcraft as him.
I saw you on World of Warcraft last night, but you never made it into Ice Crown Citadel.
In other words, he's a no-life nerd who's never gotten
pussy before in his entire life.
I just wanted to put a germ a bit in my video somewhere. But seriously, Mitch is probably one of the most annoying characters in this whole series. I freaking hate him. He's so prideful that it's almost embarrassing to watch. He asked Jack if he's completed his science fair project yet, but Jack hasn't even started yet because the science fair isn't for another 6 months.
I have already completed 2 experiments. I just need to decide which will beat yours by a wider margin.
See, he says shit like that, and it makes me cringe a little bit every single time. Next, we cut to science class where we meet 2 more main characters, Mr. Franklin and Sally. Sally is played by Julia Sarah Stone, and she plays Naomi in the episode Seance. And she has been on this channel before in the episode Headshot, which coincidentally stars Ariel Winters, who plays Alex Dunphy in Modern Family. So she got to work with 2 of the Dunphy kids on the show. Small world. Sally is a bit of an animal activist, and she actually ruined a worm dissecting experiment for the class, and has pissed off both Mr. Franklin and annoying kid Mitch.
Stop being such a drama queen.
And you stop being an annoying prick, and maybe we can all get along. wrong. Sally gets on her little soapbox and she tries to convince the whole class that she did the right thing by stopping the experiment.
Worms are the dogs of the bug world.
Worms aren't bugs. Technically, they're not bugs. Bugs are insects which have 3 body parts, a head, a thorax, and an abdomen, as well as 6 legs. And worms are invertebrates that don't have any legs. Hey, wake up! Are you even listening to me right now? All right, I guess I'll just move on. Sally says that killing worms for a little experiment is inhumane and it would be like killing and ripping open your own dog. Isn't that right, Jack?
I don't have a dog.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And since they can't cut open worms, Mr. Franklin gives each kid these rods with wires connected to them. He tells the kids to stick the rods in the ground and then touch a battery to the wires. And watch as a ton of worms start crawling out of the ground, which is apparently a real thing. I thought they just made it up for the episode. Jack finds this fun little experiment as a chance to prove to his mom that he can be responsible for a pet. If he can take care of worms, he can definitely take care of a dog. Like, that was off camera, but I hope you guys saw that. My poster fell. My in-game poster fell. Just scared the shit out of me. Well, I'll put that up soon. Back to our scheduled program. If he can take care of worms, he can definitely take care of a dog. Like Sally said, they're basically the same animal. And if he could take care of worms for a week, his mom will surely bring him an adorable puppy to take care of. Too bad this is a daydream. And class is over. How long have you been standing there? So we cut to later and Jack wastes no time in setting up his worm catching contraptions right next to the cemetery. And he didn't really predict how far the electricity would travel through the ground, and he accidentally electrocutes this poor dead guy named Anthony Olson. There are many things wrong with this scenario, like that much voltage going through the ground and also electrocuting a man back to life, but we will ignore that for the sake of this video. Jack obviously doesn't notice that he's electrocuting this grave, but he does gather a nice audience of worms to take as his new pets. And just as he takes them home, Anthony wakes up from his eternal sleep. And after a second of walking through the woods, Jack stops and realizes he forgot to poke air holes for his new worms. Dummy, how are they supposed to breathe in there? But as he's poking holes in the jar, he hears strange noises nearby. But rather than investigate, he decides to just skedaddle his way back home for the night, where he puts his new worms in their new enclosure, unaware that someone followed him home, where he once again hears the strange noises. But this time he has to do the manly thing and protect his new pets. So he investigates the noises and finds a zombie eating out of his trash. Obviously super freaked out, Jack sprints to the nearby woods where he trips and loses his glasses along the way. But a little mess up won't stop him from surviving, so he treks on deep into the woods with the walker following right behind him. Finally, after a minute of running, Jack thinks he lost the infected one, but he was wrong. The zombie lifts Jack up in the air as he pleads for his life.
I've got a lot of life to live. 69.2 years statistically speaking.
Bro, there is no time for statistics right now. You're about to die. But luckily for Jack, the zombie has a change of heart and lets him go, and then kindly gives Jack his glasses that he dropped moments ago. He even gives Jack a nice stinky zombie hug. Oh, I think this is gonna be the start of a wonderful friendship. They both head back to Jack's garage where they make it a suitable living quarters for him, and by that I mean he got a hay bed. Good enough. So it looks like Jack has taken this opportunity to keep the zombie as a pet because, well, zombies can't die, so he can't re-kill this one, right? He tells zombie Anthony that he will have to give him a bath to clean him up before he can come inside and meet his mom. Oh geez, I can only imagine what that interaction's gonna be like. But they've already spent so much time together and old Rotter here doesn't even have a name. Well, actually he does. It's Anthony, but Jack doesn't know that. So he decides to call him Cheeky, which I think he likes. Cheeky here has been getting uncomfortably close to Jack and groaning in his ear, and it takes Cheeky chewing on his new dog tag for Jack to realize that he needs to feed his lame brain. So he heads inside to grab him some grub, but he only grabs veggies? Has this kid ever seen a zombie movie? Does he know what they typically eat? Well, if he hasn't, he's about to find out because Cheeky found his way inside the house and he looks extra hungry. Oh. Maybe Cheeky's a vegan zombie. I guess those exist. And in this moment, it finally clicks for Jack that Cheeky can't die. So he's gonna keep him as a pet forever and ever. Took you a little too long to realize that. I thought you were a smart kid. But as Cheeky is munching away on his vegetables, Jack's mom comes home. And Jack panically hides Cheeky from her because, well, he's a dirty zombie. Everyone knows you can't have a dirty zombie in the house. Honestly, I don't know if she'd be more upset about a zombie being in the house or the mess that he made in the kitchen.
What on earth did you do to this kitchen, Jack?
Uh-oh, sounds like the latter. Wait a minute. According to the sign on the fridge, the ingredients were meant for hamburgers? Why didn't you give Cheeky the meat, Jack? Maybe he isn't cut out to be a pet owner. While Jack and his mom clean up the mess, Jack loses sight of Cheeky, who's supposed to be waiting on him outside. So Jack panically looks around for him, only to realize he somehow found his way inside the house again. And Jack's mom is looking like a snack. And I don't mean that in the thirsty way either. Luckily, Jack thinks fast and stops Cheeky with the freezer door, but he accidentally knocks his jaw off. Dang, kid, how hard did you hit him? Animal abuse is a really bad thing, Jack. I'm gonna let you off this one time, but don't let it happen again. Well, even a zombie knows that you can't chew without your lower jaw, so as he picks it up off the floor, Jack swiftly guides his mom into another room away from Cheeky, and then punishes Cheeky like a good pet owner by tying him to his enclosure for the night. And the next morning, do you guys not lock your doors? This is the third time he's found his way inside the house. But it's okay because Cheeky snuck in to give Jack a gift. He gives him a dog tag to match his own dog tag with his name on it.
Jack.
Oh, he's even trying to say Jack. You're not so bad after all, Cheeky. But you're still not allowed inside. And after a quick run-in with his mom, again, Jack distracts Cheeky with some TV like he's a toddler who won't sit still in the Olive Garden. Cut to later that day in school, and Jack can finally gloat about one of his experiments to that snob, Mitch.
Well, if your science fair project is better than bringing a dead guy back to life.
Obviously, Mitch doesn't believe Jack because he sounds absolutely insane right now. So Jack invites Mitch over to his house after school to prove to him that he has a pet zombie. But he might not even have to go to his house because Cheeky somehow found his way to the school. Does this dude have a tracker on Jack or something? Of course, Jack panics again and tries to think of a way to fix his little walker problem, but he doesn't think fast enough because Cheeky attacks Sally, who was trying to use the bathroom. The class hears her scream and they all get up to investigate, but Mr. Franklin stops everyone and tells them to sit down because Sally is a well-known drama queen. But still, if a kid screams that loud and intense in a school, maybe you should just give it a little peek. Maybe just go check on them, make sure they're okay, you know? I'm just saying, ignoring a blood-curdling scream, it's probably not the best idea. Luckily, Jack was able to slip away during all the commotion and save Sally before Cheeky was able to figure out how the stall door worked, where Sally says,
"Kill that thing!"
Whoa, weren't you all every living thing matters before? He's just a zombie, what's so different now? He just smells, has flesh rotting off of him, and wants to eat people constantly. It's like not even that big of a deal. But Jack does respond to Sally with something pretty funny, actually. He pretty much tells Sally that no one's gonna believe her. He says that she can't say anything about Cheeky because no one already believes her right now. So if she mentions something about a zombie, they're really not gonna believe her. She kind of did it to herself, honestly. Somehow Jack manages to get Cheeky out of the school without being caught, and he waits for Mitch at the spot they agreed to meet at before in school, where Jack explains to Cheeky what's going to happen. But then he goes all Frankenstein on him, starts calling Cheeky his creation and stuff, and Cheeky starts noticing all the red flags in front of him and takes this as his chance to escape. And after a quick little Scooby-Doo moment,
Cheeky!
Jack literally runs into Mitch, who's ready to see Jack's brain eater. And when he doesn't have it anymore, he immediately starts insulting Jack.
You're like the David Blaine of mathletes. All flash and no flashcards.
Okay, first, you can't say any of that and try and sound cool. Second, I used to like David Blaine, so I take offense to that. And third, there's a zombie behind you. You should probably look out. Cheeky pins Mitch to the ground and holds him there until Mitch admits that Jack is smarter than he is. And if he doesn't, well, Cheeky hasn't eaten for a while.
He's kind of a connoisseur of brains, being a zombie and all.
So he does know what zombies eat. Why didn't you feed him meat before? And after a ton of begging and pleading, Mitch admits that Jack is smarter than him, so he gets to run free with his brain still in his head. But in a crazy turn of events, Cheeky sneaks up behind Jack and knocks him out. Then we cut back to the cemetery and the camera pans underground, where we see Cheeky has a whole house dug out underground with his zombie mother. And coincidentally, Cheeky wasn't allowed to have a pet either. But just like Jack, he brought one home anyways, and she's pissed. I mean, look at the anger on her face. And when Jack comes to, he finds himself tied up with a chain, and Cheeky asks his mom if he can keep Jack as a pet, and Jack is just too cute, she can't say no. So to end off the episode, Cheeky tries to feed an ungrateful Jack a bowl of raw meat and rotting fruit, where it once again takes Jack a little too long to realize that he's now Cheeky's pet. And that's the end of the episode. God, this episode is just so much fun. It tries to have its moments where it's scary, but I just can't take Cheeky seriously at all. I will admit, he is pretty freaky looking. Probably one of the best zombie designs I've seen in a little while. He actually looks like a for real zombie. And I love the yellow eyes. That means he's being controlled by Samantha. But despite his scary look, Cheeky is a little too goofy for me to take him seriously. And they obviously did that on purpose. I mean, he was scary for like 4 seconds when we thought he was going to eat Jack, but after his sign of peace towards Jack, it's kind of hard to see him as anything but a misunderstood little guy. He's just so clumsy, he's always fumbling around everywhere like a lost puppy. He gets distracted so easily by little things. It just absolutely tanks his scary factor, and it doesn't matter how many jump scare noises you put in the episode, I'm gonna be happy when he's on screen. He's like oddly cute. Somehow, I don't know how. And I actually love the relationship between him and Jack. It's kind of funny seeing Jack kind of control an older guy. Like, I know he's like brain dead, he's a zombie, he doesn't know anything, but it's just kind of cute seeing a little kid like boss a big guy around, you know? It's just a good time, just a guy hanging out with his zombie pet, just a lot of fun. Now, with all that being said, I don't think it's one of the better episodes of the show, especially since I've only talked about some of the highest rated episodes here recently. So this one's definitely a little like whiplashy, a little jarring for me to jump into, but it's just, like I said, it's so much fun. I could watch a whole series of these two running around getting into crazy weird situations. Now that I know there's like an underground tunnel of zombies, that could be like a whole nother world you can dive into. It would be a lot of fun, honestly. And I did really like the twist at the end. I didn't see it coming because I really wasn't thinking about a twist in this episode. I figured he would have to like put Cheeky to rest somehow because his mom obviously doesn't want him to have a pet zombie. That would be insane if she was just cool with it. But I do like that they added a twist because I didn't expect a twist, so it got me. They did give us many hints throughout the episode that it was happening. I mean, Cheeky was constantly on the prowl trying to protect Jack, and he even gives him a dog tag with his name on it like you would do a pet, like a little tag. I just hope Jack was able to get away before Cheeky gets a little too hungry and tries to eat him. I also really like the underground house that Cheeky and his mom live in. Probably the most creative part of this episode, honestly. I wish we got to spend a little more time in it because it looks like they spent a lot of time making it. There are sketches of the lair so we can get a better look at it, and it's really cool. I just feel like it was a huge waste of time because we got less than 2 minutes of screen time in the place. Once again, if we had a whole series of these two, I could probably explore that room a lot more. It does look a little small, so maybe we did get to see most of it on camera, so that's good. Now, one last thing before we end everything off. The side characters in this episode really sucked. I mean, they were entertaining, but none of them were really likable, except for maybe his mom, but she doesn't count. She was nice. But Mitch is just a know-it-all little prick who was too snooty and annoying for you to like him. I was honestly glad when he got put in his place. Sally was just over the top and really annoying the whole time. She was always on her soapbox preaching about something or being a smartass about something. And Mr. Franklin was a little too passive-aggressive towards Sally the whole time. He obviously didn't like her. I mean, I know she was annoying and disruptive, but come on, man. If a girl screams like that, you've got to at least check and make sure she's okay. Okay, that's my rant about the bad side characters. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk. But let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below. Hi everybody, my name's Kingnusmi, and welcome back to week 3 of Hovember. Or Hauntvember. You guys didn't seem to like Hovember too much. But I asked you guys what episode of The Haunting Hour you'd like to see, and you guys voted for The Red Dress. And I know I say this a lot, but this episode is one of the most requested episodes I get. I have no clue how it hasn't won a poll yet, but it's finally got its chance to shine. If you're new here and have never heard of The Haunting Hour is a kids anthology horror show that had 76 episodes and aired from 2010 to 2014 on a now defunct channel called The Hub. It was created by R.L. Stein, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show Goosebumps. And The Haunting Hour is considered to be a darker version of Goosebumps, and is one of the scariest kids shows of all time. It's got some pretty eerie visuals, some actually terrifying monsters, and really dark twist endings to the episodes, including the one we're talking about today. Sometimes they take short stories from some of Stein's other books, like one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hour, as well as some other non-R.L. Stein books for the stories in the episodes. Today we're taking a look at The Red Dress, the 6th episode of the first season, and the episode was directed by J.B. Sugar, who sadly didn't come back to direct any other episodes, but it was written by the duo Jed Elinoff and Scott Thomas. Together they wrote 5 other episodes for the show, including some fan favorites like Afraid of Clowns, the Dead Body episodes, Intruders, and Game Over. They've also written a few episodes of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, as well as a few Scooby-Doo movies. And that insane Banana Splits movie that came out in 2019. which might be fun to talk about on the channel. And this episode is one of the few where none of the actors from the episode come back to be in another episode of the show. And like I said earlier, this episode has been recommended to me a ton ever since I started making videos about the show. And I can honestly see why. The episode has an absolutely insane twist that honestly leaves me wanting more, but I think it's about time we stop yapping and get into the episode. We start this episode at the place where rich people pay to have friends, also known as the Country Club. Our main character Jamie works at a concession stand there with her best friend Nicole, where they can sit there all day and judge the rich people for being out of touch with the rest of society and shopping constantly because they're all just so loaded. Or maybe they're just jealous of the rich people because they're rich. Well, Nicole is at least. But next we meet this cutie patootie named Zach. Jamie has a huge crush on Zach and really wants to make a good impression on him. So hopefully she's able to keep her cool while he orders his usual.
Can I just get a hot dog with
Mustard easy on the relish, hold the ketchup.
It could have been worse. She uses the excuse that he orders the same thing every day, so she doesn't seem totally weird that she has his order memorized. But it's still not normal, so Nicole pulls Jamie off to the side to be a good friend and tell her, that was a little rough. It's okay to have a crush on the guy, but you have to act cool and not like an insane person who stalks his every move. And Nicole was doing a good job with giving her advice until Nicole gets all pessimistic and starts telling Jamie that her and Zach will never happen because he's rich and somewhat attractive, and she works at a concession stand and serves him every day. But Jamie tells her that she's tired of that way of thinking and she just wants to believe that a guy like Zach would date a girl like her. And while the two talk in the back while making his hot dog, Zach is approached by this girl named Stella. She's your typical mean girl who also has a crush on Zach and is giving major hints that she wants him to take her to a party at the club this weekend. She wants to go so bad, but she just doesn't know what to wear. And Zach seems so concerned for her.
That's just a huge problem, Stella.
Well, at least he's like kind of listening. That's good, right? Jamie hands Zach his hot dog, which causes Stella to get a little jealous for some reason.
Hey, snack bar girl, could you grab me a diet soda? Thanks.
Now, Stella, I know you probably don't know her name because for some unknowable reason, her name tag says staff on it, but her real name is Oh, she was trying to be condescending. Then we cut to the next day and Jamie meets Nicole at their bus stop to go to work. But since Jamie is always late to everything, they miss their bus. But major props to Nicole for waiting on her, even after the bus left. That's a real good friend right there. Well, since they missed their bus, it looks like they have to walk their way to work, and as they do that, they pass a shop called the Raven's Chest Found Treasures. Geez, that's a long name. The shop kind of calls out to Jamie, so she interrupts what Nicole was saying to ask about it. Probably wasn't that important or thoughtful anyways.
Thank you for wasting your summer working at the snack bar with me. I know it was lame, but it would have been uber lame without you there, so...
Hey, have you seen this store before?
Oh, yikes, that's bad timing. Jamie is so enthralled by the shop that she literally just stops in her tracks and stares at the shop like it's hypnotizing her or something. She's acting like my sisters when we find a witchy shop on family vacation. Nicole knows they have to get to work, so she tries to pull Jamie away from the shop, but it doesn't work. She just has to go inside to see what's in there. Inside, there seems to be a hodgepodge of things, baby doll heads, clothes, taxidermied animals. Wait, that one looks real. There's a real crow in there? I cannot be safe. There's really nothing of note inside. It's all just kind of random, except for a shiny red dress in the middle of the store. Jamie is absolutely in love with this dress and wants to buy it, but the price tag says,
See Abigail.
Who's Abigail? Jamie tries to call out to anyone who works there, but when no one answers, Nicole tries to pry Jamie away, but that's when Abigail appears. She's blind and uses a mobility cane to get around, and she somehow knows Jamie is asking about the red dress, and she says,
Beautiful, isn't it?
Wait a minute. How would you know? Abigail introduces herself to the girls and welcomes them to her new boutique.
Fancy way of saying thrift store.
Oh, the Raven's Chest is much more than a thrift store.
Yeah, that was just hella rude, man. Why'd you say that? She's like being a nice person and you're just insulting her store right in front of her. She says that everything in her store was once someone's prized possession, and the red dress is a very special possession.
You would look stunning in it.
Would she now? Jamie was totally willing to buy it. Too bad the dress is $400 damn dollars. There is no way a concession stand job is giving you that much disposable income. Of course, she can't afford the dress, and Abigail just simply tells her, if you want something, you must pay for it. But they're broke, so they just head out and go to work. But later that night, Jamie is walking back home from work when she approaches the store once again. She can see the dress from the window, and she feels like if she had the dress, it would just make Zach fall in love with her. And that's when the door to the shop opens on its own. Jamie makes her way inside, calling out to see if anyone is there, but she doesn't get an answer. And rather than walk out, she decides to just try on the dress really quick. She puts it on and it looks great on her. It's almost like it was made specifically for her. She starts to really feel herself, and she roleplays a scenario where Zach asks her to the dance in a pretty uncomfortable scene for me. I don't know why. I just cringe at watching scenes like this where people are talking to themselves in the mirror. I know we all do it from time to time, but it just feels vulnerable and like I shouldn't be there. But it seems like her little roleplay session woke up Abigail. She quickly hides as we hear the tapping of her white cane against the floor. Abigail is oddly calm about the situation and just says to the room, if you're stealing from me, I'm warning you, you must pay, as she taps her way closer and closer to Jamie until she's right in front of her. Luckily, Jamie was quiet for long enough to sneak by her. She tries to make a sneaky escape, but since Abigail is blind, her hearing has gotten a lot better, and she catches Jamie running out of the shop with the dress still on. But she doesn't panic or even run to grab Jamie. She simply walks at her with her cane, shouting,
You must pay.
Luckily, Jamie makes it out of the store unscathed, and mysteriously, Abigail doesn't shout or call the police. She just shuts the door and says,
She'll pay.
I hope Jamie is happy. I mean, she just robbed Abigail blind. Oh! Next we cut to Jamie back at her house, and she's still wearing the dress. But now that she has a second to breathe, she realizes what she's doing is wrong. That she really needs to just return the dress and apologize. But it might be too late. Oh, it's just clothes. Jamie feels really bad for stealing the dress until she catches another glimpse of herself in the mirror, and she just absolutely loves how she looks in the dress. And it also seems like she doesn't feel as bad for stealing it anymore. Her being in the dress actually gives Jamie the confidence to call Zach and ask him out. Let's go, that's a dub. But it's kind of funny because right after she calls him and he answers, you can see the panic in her eyes as she starts to fumble the bag a little bit. But once she sees herself in the dress once again, she just instantly locks in and is all smooth and asks him out nicely. So the next day they go to a noir festival? Okay, maybe don't take somebody to a noir movie on a first date. You have to be a very specific person to like movies like that, and most people aren't, especially teenagers. And all the movies on the list are real, and since I have nothing else to talk about, let's list them. Starting off, we have Jezebel, a 1938 movie about a woman named Julie who chooses to wear a red dress instead of a white one for a ball, which causes her to lose her husband and be ostracized by the community. There's a pretty obvious connection from that movie to this episode. Next up is A Touch of Evil, a 1958 movie about a Mexican man and his American wife who get captured by a crime family on the Mexican-American border because the husband is a police officer and he's trying to put the drug traffickers behind bars. I haven't seen that one, I just looked up a synopsis. The Seventh Seal is a 1957 movie that is honestly really amazing. I have actually seen this one. It's about a man who plays a game of chess with the Grim Reaper, and as they play, he seeks knowledge of many things like the meaning of life and stuff. And while they're doing this, the Black Death just sweeps over the country. It's kind of like a really depressing movie. Next up is My Darling Clementine, a 1946 film about a man who becomes the marshal of a town called Tombstone to solve the case of his brother who was murdered. And lastly, we have 1927's Metropolis, a visually stunning movie about a city called Metropolis. It's a utopian society where the wealthy live carefree lives up on the top of the city, while workers below kill themselves with labor just to survive. That sounds a little too familiar. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that old movie lesson. Let's see if they like the movie.
Wow, the movie was,
You hated it.
Well, damn, those are all critically acclaimed, important movies. You just don't understand the mise-en-scène and the incredible attention to detail that they... Hey, wake up! That's 2 videos in a row, man. I'm trying to teach you stuff. Jamie and Zach have a very awkward moment where they have to go separate ways to get home. And it's pretty obvious that they both want to like hug or kiss, or at least it's obvious that Jamie does. But of course that doesn't happen, so we get this very soap opera moment. Jamie seems a little disappointed that Zach didn't have a good time on their date, and she starts to head home, but as she starts walking, she can hear the click of Abigail's cane following her. But when she turns around, no one is there. She tries to act casual and keep walking, but it sounds like the tapping is getting closer and faster. So in a panic, she starts running, and she doesn't stop until she gets home, where she's safe. Or at least she thought she was safe. Her closet door mysteriously opens on its own. Nervous, Jamie opens it fully to investigate, but she has no clue that Abigail followed her home.
You must pay.
Next, we cut to the next morning, and Jamie was so scared of what happened that she locked herself in her own closet for the night. And she only comes out when Nicole comes to visit her. She tells Nicole about what happened last night, that Abigail somehow found her, but all of it is seeming unlikely because, well, she's blind, and Jamie also claims that she just appeared in her room. Nicole obviously wants to believe her best friend, but everything just seems a little too far-fetched, you know? And she honestly doesn't really care about all that. She wants to hear more about Zach taking Jamie out to the movies. But Jamie doesn't think Zach really likes her.
But that's not the point. Okay, it might not be the point, but it's a point. It's definitely pointy.
By the way, you guys think my quips are bad? Nicole has some groaners in this episode, I tell you what. Nicole just tells Jamie what she truly thinks, that she sounds insane for thinking a blind woman somehow hunted her down and followed her home and is now stalking her every day. Nicole doesn't even know why she would be doing something like that, but that's because she didn't know that Jamie stole the red dress. Then everything just makes sense to Nicole. Jamie tries to explain herself. It all happened so fast. The door opened on its own. She tried it on and loved it and blah, blah, blah.
Stop it! This is post-traumatic theft disorder.
Yeah, you see what I mean? But Nicole is a good friend, and she tells Jamie that she has to take the dress back, and maybe this weird stuff will stop happening to her. Her post-traumatic theft disorder will just go away, I guess. So Jamie does exactly that, but right as she's outside of the store, she gets a call from Zach, who invites her out to the country club dance, which is now tonight. So of course she says yes, but she doesn't have anything to wear. Or does she? I mean, what's one more night with the dress, right? Later that night at the party, Nicole is the first person to see Jamie, who is all dressed up in the red dress she was supposed to return, which makes Nicole super upset that she's just not listening to her. She's also upset because Jamie is supposed to be working the party with her, serving food and drinks to the guests. So not only did Jamie not listen to her and keep the red dress, she also abandoned her, and now she has to work twice as hard tonight. And she's also a little upset that Jamie seems to be leaving her behind to hang out with all these rich snobs because she wants to seem cooler.
You know what, Nikki? You're just jealous.
I mean, yeah, she is, but you're also doing all those things to her. Then Nicole shoves a platter in her hands and storms off. It's honestly very sad that Jamie has lost her best friend because she was just so obsessed with this random dress. I mean, how can she look at herself and think, oh, she thinks she looks good. Man, this dress really just blinds her with ego. She just can't see herself being the bad guy because she just loves how good she looks. Jamie finds Zach talking to the mean girl. What was her name again? Oh, right, Stella. Man, she really is a nothing character in this episode. And Stella's complaining again. What is it this time?
My dad wants to take us to Venice at the end of the summer. Can you think of anything nastier?
Oh yeah, because vacationing to Venice is just such a chore. God, I can't imagine vacationing to Venice every year. But luckily for Zach, Jamie is there now to save him from that boring conversation, and he can finally dance with the girl that he actually likes. And it's perfect timing because they're playing a slow song for them. And it turns out that Zach is actually a pretty nice guy. He compliments Jamie and they have a nice dance. Until Abigail appears again. Seeing Abigail really rattles Jamie, and she tries to keep her cool while they dance, but she just can't. She freaks out in front of everyone and absolutely embarrasses herself and Zach. And she gets so embarrassed that she just runs out of the party, leaving Zach and everyone super confused. Jamie once again runs all the way home, keeping a close eye behind her for Abigail. And she does make it all the way home before Abigail's crow makes its way inside. Jamie apologizes for stealing the dress, and she tells Abigail that she can have it back. She's done with it. She doesn't want it anymore. But it might be too late. We cut to the next morning and we see her laying in bed, still wearing the dress. Nicole gives her a wake-up call to check on her, and she also wants to apologize for their little fight they had, as Jamie searches for her glasses in her room, which aren't where they normally are. Jamie also mentions to Nicole how dark it is in her room for some reason, but Nicole says it shouldn't be dark, it's 11 a.m. And that's when it hits her. She starts to panic and she opens her curtains, but she can't see.
I can't see!
And we cut to Abigail in her shop. She sets down Jamie's glasses to sell them, and she opens her eyes to show us she now has Jamie's eyes. And she says,
Everyone must pay.
And that's where the episode ends. Probably one of the best twists in the show, I gotta say. I knew a twist was coming in this episode at least, I just didn't know it was gonna be that. Okay, I actually kind of like this episode. It's a sleeper episode for sure. Going into it, I didn't expect much because, I mean, how can an episode about a red dress be scary? Come on. But I guess my expectations were just so low that I found it to be really good. And it was actually kind of scary. Scarier than most episodes. And I love that they took the concept of robbing someone blind and made it a scary short story. It's really fun and it shows me that blind people are actually terrifying. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, being stalked and hunted down by a blind person can be scary. We've all seen the movie Don't Breathe. But I think Abigail is so scary because she has this mystical quality about her. She might actually be a witch or maybe even a ghost who punishes people who do bad things like rob blind people. She just appears randomly like she can teleport and you can hear the tapping of her cane even if she isn't anywhere in sight. I also personally have a small fear of being stalked or followed around, so scenes where she's following Jamie really spooked me pretty bad, and the tapping of her cane was just such a genius way of adding tension to these scenes. It's just something so small and insignificant normally, but it instills so much fear with the correct context. So of course I really like the scene where Abigail is walking around her store with Jamie hiding in the changing room. I think that was a really intense scene and the jump scare was actually pretty effective, or it would have been if I was younger and didn't watch horror movies all the time. It's a little predictable, but I can see it scaring kids. That's all I'm saying. Now, I want to talk about Jamie real quick. I think she's a good protagonist. She starts off sweet and humble and very smart, and she stays that way for most of the episode, except for when she's wearing that dress. I don't know what happens to her. It's like the dress infects her brain with stupid virus or something, and it's like instantly when she doesn't see herself in the dress, her like confidence starts to falter, and then when she sees herself in the dress, it just goes right back up. It just makes her ego skyrocket, and she starts doing and saying things that she doesn't mean. It's like kind of funny how like cartoonish that is. And at the end of the episode, there's a perfect example there. Her and Nicole have a big fight that almost ruins their friendship, and she's super upset about it until she sees herself in the reflection of the platter. And then she just completely forgets about this big fight she just had. Maybe the dress has some paranormal ability to it or something to make her act that way. I don't know. Also, I like Nicole. She's good, and she's actually a really great friend to Jamie, if only Jamie would pay attention to her. But she has some of the cringiest lines in the whole episode, maybe the whole show. I just wanted to mention that. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's just every time she spoke, there was something cringy in there, and I did not like it. I also don't like all the awkward moments of Zach and Jamie being weird around each other. And I know it's for the climax of the episode. You want to see her and Zach dance, but you don't have to spend so much time of them just standing there staring at each other. I get it, man. But other than those few complaints, I think this is a really solid episode. It has its moments where it's genuinely pretty scary. I didn't expect much from this episode, but it really proved me wrong and then beat my expectations into the ground. But really, I think the star of the episode, the person who really saves this episode, is Abigail. She's a really great antagonist. If she wasn't in the episode, I guarantee the episode would be so boring, dude. It's about a girl who like gets hypnotized by a dress. Nobody would like that. But Abigail chasing her down with her scary face. I'm sorry, she looks scary. I wish she would have came back for a couple more episodes like Sardo does in Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because it looks like she has like a whole shop of things. She could sell people cursed trinkets like he did. I think that would have been really cool. I would love to see her come back. Oh, and I did want to mention that Abigail is played by Emmanuelle Vaugier? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Probably not. But she also plays Addison in the Saw movie starting at Saw 2. She was a part of one of the traps that made me cringe the worst out of the whole series. It's so simple, but God, I hated this one. But that's all I got for you today. Let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below. We just have 2 more weeks of the Haunting Hour month and we're done. I know it's going by so fast. And it's actually only been season 1 episodes. Like we're really chipping away at season 1 episodes. We have 5 left now. So let me know what episodes you want to see in the comments below. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. And the bugs, they're in your skin. You gotta get them out, Scratch them out right now. They're under your skin. You gotta get them out, Hi everybody, my name's Kingnusmi and welcome to week 4 of Hauntvember. The month dedicated to the Haunting Hour because I wanted it to be. If you want to catch up, I have like 3 other Haunting Hour videos you can go watch so you can get all the Haunting Hour goodness we love to watch. I've also decided to extend Hauntvember until next week because well, November technically doesn't end until Monday, and I post on Sunday. But I'll be starting the jolly month with a special holiday episode of The Haunting Hour, so stay tuned. Now, I asked you guys what episode of The Haunting Hour you'd like to see, and you guys voted for Swarmin Norman. And for those who don't know, The Haunting Hour is a show that aired from 2011 to 2014 with 72 episodes in total. It was created by R.L. Stein, who is most known for his popular book series turned TV show, Goosebumps. The Haunting Hour is known as a darker version of Goosebumps, and is one of the scariest kids shows of of all time. Just a very quick recap today. You guys should know what the Haunting Hour is by now. Swarmin Norman is the 3rd episode of the 2nd season, and I've heard many things about this episode. Some people absolutely love it and think it's one of the best episodes in the series. The real bugheads really like it, and they're not quiet about the episode being their favorite. Trust me. But I've also seen that some people absolutely hate this episode with a burning passion. One dude even begged me to not talk about it because he found the kids so annoying, and since he asked me so kindly, I guess I could talk about another episode. Today we're taking a look at the episode Perfect Brother instead. Perfect Brother is the 20th episode of the 1st season and is one of the most underrated— no, I'm just joking, obviously. I must follow democracy. It's just funny how an episode about a nerdy kid studying insects as they somehow take over the world can be so divisive. Wait a minute, this episode is just awesome ants from Goosebumps. Swarmin Norman was directed by Peter DeLuise, who directed 13 other episodes for the show, including some bangers like Afraid of Clowns, Creature Feature, and Catching Cold. His brother is also the dad in Wizards of Waverly Place. That's just a fun fact. I thought he was the dad for a second because they look so similar. The episode was written by Jack Monaco, who wrote 11 episodes for the show, mostly in seasons 2 and 3, but he and Peter DeLuise worked on the episode Flight together, and that's one of my favorite episodes. And this episode is definitely very goofy, but it does have some pretty spooky stuff in it, and I'm excited to break it down, so let's quit yapping and get into it. We start the episode with, what the hell is that? Oh, it's an insect. I thought I was on the wrong website for a second. Looks like we're in science class, and everyone looks insanely bored, except for this kid, who is obviously Norman, our main character for the episode, if you couldn't tell by the title. During this lesson, we learned some pretty important info for the show. Insects are everywhere, above us, below us. There are over 100 million insects in just 1 square acre of land. And Norman is super into bugs, so he is super into this lesson, and his favorite bug is the praying mantis, a predator in the insect world, even known to take down small birds. But as Norman is in awe at the bugs, these guys in the back are just so bored. So they have to stimulate their pea brains by bullying Norman. Tyler, the bully right here, tries his best to scare Norman, but his insults have no merit on a genius like him.
I'll squash you like I squash all bugs.
Like you could ever kill all of them. There are like 10 quintillion insects.
I think I could see why he gets bullied. Norman even gets backup from his teacher, Mr. Dunwood, who says that there are so many bugs on this earth that if they wanted to, they could take over. Then as the bell rings, he tasks the class to find and capture as many bugs as they can over the next week, which no one is excited for. Except for Norman, of course.
Yes!
I thought now that we have a small break, let's talk about a couple of actors real quick. Bobby Coleman plays Norman, and he was on this channel before in the episode Walls. One of the weirder episodes of the series, but I absolutely love that episode. And Tyler the Bully was played by Joshua Ballard, and he was in the episode Lovecraft's Woods, which I started this month talking about. It's one of the crazier episodes of the series. Go check it out, it's right here. And I know they seem like enemies in the show right now, but I think they'll become great friends by the end of it. Never mind. They give our boy Norman a good old-fashioned swirly, but they don't dunk our boy just once either. They dunk him 4 times. Damn, are you trying to drown him?
Just because you guys are bigger than me doesn't mean you get to push me around.
Whoa, I think you got some like toilet water in your throat, buddy. You want to like take that line again? Norman starts getting very upset that he's an outcast in the school, and he gets pushed around a lot by what seems like everyone. But luckily for him, the school day ends quickly and he can do something that he actually likes: catching bugs. He even has a bug catching tool belt. How cute. He manages to get an absurd amount of ants in this jar really fast and has a bit of a god complex while looking at them. And I'm not just saying that. He says it.
I bet they think I'm like some sort of god or superhero or something.
But Norman's a nice guy, and he tells the ants that they don't have to worship him. And as he starts logging the ants in his little insect notebook, he notices that he has a little friend nearby. He uses a net and captures the praying mantis as it watches him, but it seems like it wants Norman to capture him because he instantly just crawls into his hands and quickly becomes one of Norman's best friends. And later that day, while Norman is drawing this massive cricket into his notebook, he notices that his little praying mantis buddy is looking a little hungry. So he sacrifices his cricket to the mantis. But this greedy little mantis wants more, and Norman tells him no, he's only allowed to have one because Norman is now their almighty leader, and he's only allowing the mantis to eat one. It's a bit concerning behavior. Maybe it's just a one-off. Maybe it's just a little fluke. He watches as the praying mantis chows down on his prey and talks about how it's just the law of the jungle.
The
bigger guy always eats the smaller one.
That's just how life is, you know? The next day, Tyler steals his insect journal.
Journalis insectus.
Yeah, you can't just name your journal that and not expect people to bully you, man. And Tyler starts reading it in a nerdy voice, very loud for the whole school to hear. And he rips pages out as he does so. And if Norman gets too close and tries to fight back while he does it, he gets his shit rocked. Oh my God, Tyler really sucks, man. I can't wait until something bad happens to him. But that means something bad will happen to a child. Oh God, I'm gonna get hate comments for that. But come on, he's making our boy cry. I want something bad to happen to him. Later, when Norman gets home, he finds his mantis has somehow escaped from its enclosure. But it has been patiently waiting for him to get home. Oh, that's kind of sweet. He's got a little friend. Norman tells the mantis about his bad day at school, and he says that Tyler only thinks he's tough because he's bigger than Norman. Then Norman tells the mantis that he's way bigger than the insects, but he would never do anything so cruel to him or any insects for that matter. And since the mantis is such a good friend and listener to Norman, he asks if he can give him the nickname Manny, and the mantis nods its head. So I guess that's a yes. Did a mantis just nod its head? Norman doesn't believe what he saw, so he decides to test Manny's listening skills by telling him to go to the branch, which Manny does instantly and absolutely shocks Norman. So he tries again, but this time he tries to see if every insect listens to him. So he tells Manny to go to his hand and the rest of the bugs to head to their enclosures. And surprisingly, it worked. Norman is like the bug bender or something. Norman is absolutely stoked to discover that he is actually the master of all insects. It's a crazy thing to just discover about yourself. So the next day at school, he walks in with a new aura surrounding him. He's super confident and ready to tackle the day. That is until...
Wedgie time!
Tyler ruins it again. But this time, Norman's going to fight back. After school, he goes outside and finds a stump in a field near his neighborhood. He brings Manny and sets him down before standing on the stump and starts shouting,
Come!
He has a Bruce Almighty moment where he stands tall as the wind blows all around him and every insect in the area makes their way into his bag. Or that's what they want you to believe. Kind of looks like a psycho standing on a stump because the bugs are just so tiny, you can't see them on camera. Come to me, my little insectoids! Look at them! They're coming! I mean, you have to trust me. You have to trust me. They're coming. I can see them. They're all coming. I promise. And the next day at school, Norman doesn't give Tyler the chance to bully him. He follows Tyler into the bathroom, and with Manny's help, they release hundreds of cockroaches on him while he takes a dookie. And Tyler is so scared, he can't do anything but cry for help as Norman stands over him, laughing and taunting him. But like always, Norman is a kind guy, and he doesn't make Tyler suffer for long. All he wanted was for Tyler to know who's boss. So he forces him to give himself a wedgie. That's kind of a strange request, but it's funny, so I'll let it slide. All this power is making Norman feel really good. So he threatens Tyler. He says that he is not allowed to mess with him anymore because if he does, Norman will crush Tyler like a bug. And then Norman does the unthinkable. He crushes one of the cockroaches and laughs maniacally as he does. Something he promised Manny he would never do. Manny stares at Norman with anger in his eyes, I think, as the scene of Norman stomping on his friends replays over and over in his insect head. We got to later that day and Norman is on top of the world, but he does have a different demeanor this time. He walks as if he's more important than everyone, like he's in control. And later in class, we have a nice little fun fact here. He learns about the strategies of Stonewall Jackson, who was a Confederate general who is known for outsmarting and outmaneuvering an army of 60,000 men, with his smaller army of 17,000 men. Very similar to how Norman uses a small army of bugs to get payback. And it might also be a reference to something else that happens later in the episode, but I'll get back to that. But as the teacher yaps about Stonewall Jackson, Norman can't help but feel like he's being watched, but he doesn't know who's watching him. Then we see that Manny is watching him very intensely from the window, plotting on how he's going to deal with Norman for betraying his trust. Later that night, Norman is trying to get some sleep, but he's having a hard time because of all the strange noises surrounding him. He turns on the light, but he doesn't see anything. He even checks under his bed, but still, nothing. Soon he realizes that there are hundreds of bugs, including Manny, waiting at his window. He shoos the bugs away like he's still their master, but he doesn't know that they're revolting against him. Although some people think they're just revolting. It takes him a while, but when he finally realizes what's going on, he tries to act all big and bad, just like Tyler acted at the start of the episode. He tells Manny that he's the bigger one, he can just crush them all, and what he says goes, which was a big mistake. Moths start swarming the windows, slowly breaking it for an easier way inside. But Norman has come prepared. He grabs some insect killer out from under his sink and sprays the cracks in the window, stopping the bugs from entering. Then he tapes the window so they definitely won't be coming in from there now. But there are other ways of getting into the house. Bugs flood the walls and vents in the house, as Norman tries his best to secure his whole room quickly, which he surprisingly is successful at. But then he realizes he still has some bugs in enclosures around the room. Bugs that could help them in their revolution. So he decides to get rid of all of them by flushing them all down the toilet and overly taping the lid shut. What if you have to poop, man? You don't do it in the sink? There's a lot of poop jokes in this video. It's like the third one. But now there's no possible way for Manny or his cockroach minions to get inside, so Norman can finally get a good night's sleep. Or at least he thought he secured the room. But just one cord coming from the wall gives the bugs just enough room to squeeze through. And as he's sleeping peacefully, they sneak their way into his room and cover his entire body, pinning him down to the bed where he can't escape. We watch Norman's shadow struggle as Manny watches in excitement, and a narrator says, "Insects are all around us, above us, beneath us. The bugs outnumber us by a factor of trillions. There is no way to stop them. If it's us versus them, we surely don't stand a chance." As Manny cheers to his victory over Norman. And that's the end of the episode. Did they kill Norman? Did the bugs kill Norman? That wasn't very clear because it's a bug. Did they kill a kid at the end of this episode? I'm just gonna guess they did. Imagine being eaten alive by bugs. That would be insane. But God, Norman turned into a psychopath so fast in this episode. I figured he would just get revenge on Tyler for being such a dickhead at the beginning, but I didn't think the power would just go to his head so quickly. Like, bro had an incredible power. He could literally take over the world if he wanted to with these bugs and be the ruler of everything. But you got a bit too cocky with a few hundred cockroaches and you ruined your chances. You could have been one of the greats. They would have talked about you in history books. On a serious note, I know some people absolutely hate this episode and some people absolutely love this episode. And I find the episode to be very it's okay. It definitely has its moments where it's interesting and fun, and it can be a little spooky, especially if you're afraid of bugs. But I feel like they want you to use your imagination for a majority of the episode. They don't really show you a lot of what's going on. They'll just show you fast clips of bugs. Kind of like the episode Pool Shark, where they just used a lot of stock footage of sharks. They just used a lot of stock footage of insects running around and doing their thing, and they wanted you to fill in the spaces. Which I understand with the low budget show, you kind of have to do things like that sometimes. It just takes me out of the episode every time it does that for a second. Like, I understand what they're trying to convey, and I understand why they needed to do that, but I feel like it doesn't really help. I also think it's really funny whenever he's summoning all the bugs to his backpack on the stump, and then we just see an empty field. Like, you could have done something to indicate there's a bunch of bugs rushing towards his bag. The teacher said there's over 100 million bugs per square acre or something, so surely you're able to see all of them when they're all grouped up. Hell, even the Awesome Ants Goosebumps episode, they had something to indicate that there were a bunch of ants in one area. I didn't say their solution was a good one, but at least they had one. I do want to point out that the ants used the Stonewall Jackson technique to attack Norman at the end of the episode. I don't know if you guys caught that. Norman was just a bigger guy. He had more artillery. He could like secure his room better, but they used a new strategy. They went inside the walls to attack him while he was distracted, sleeping. Very smart strategy from the bugs. They're crazy smart, apparently. I'm not saying that's the exact strategy Stonewall Jackson used, but it is a smarter strategy. They outsmarted a little boy. That's what I'm trying to say, okay? Stop typing your hate comment. Back up your hate comment. I see you writing that hate comment. Back it up. I also hate that they made Norman so evil towards the end of the episode. I think it would have been more interesting if they decided to go the route where he's using the bugs against his enemies, and then maybe he even takes over the school so that he's no longer the little guy getting picked on all the time. But nope, bro just like fumbled the bag that quickly. Kind of sad. But other than those couple complaints, I like the idea of someone controlling and using insects to their own bidding. I also really like how well they made the character Manny. Like, bro is a praying mantis and is the best actor in this episode. How does that happen? But no, we have all these cool POV shots of him, and they use music and quick edits to help us understand what he's going through, what he's feeling. I just think he was done really, really well. They did a good job with Manny. I was just pretty shocked that a praying mantis turned out to be my favorite character in the episode. Didn't think that would happen. Like I said earlier, I think the idea of the episode is really good, and I'm sure if they had a bigger budget, they could have done something amazing. Because I mean, realistically, if you think about it, bugs could just crawl out of the ground and then eat us all alive if they so pleased. And thinking about that is actually a little scary. Yeah, I don't like that. I just don't think they portrayed it very well in this episode. They also just seem to change the rules midway through the episode. At first, it was Norman controlling all the insects, but in the bathroom, suddenly Manny is the one controlling the bugs. And then it was Manny who led the attack on Norman at the end. So I guess Manny was the one controlling the bugs the whole time, but then why make it seem like Norman was if he wasn't? I don't know. I was just a little confused by that when I first watched it, but it's a fun episode to watch. Definitely not high on the scare factor, but if you're afraid of bugs or specifically cockroaches, this episode will 100% give you the heebie-jeebies. And I think Bobby Coleman did a really good job, especially for being the only person on screen for a majority of the episode. Puberty was just hitting him really hard at this time.
Just because you guys are bigger than me doesn't mean you get to push me around.
Bro sound like a dog toy with a broken squeaker sometimes. But yeah, overall, a good episode. Very fun. I don't think it's as good as some of you guys hype it up to be, but I enjoyed it. I'm glad I finally got to talk about it on the channel. So let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Hauntvember is sadly coming to an end, but that means Christmas is just around the corner. So why not end off the month by talking about the final episode, which just so happens to be a Christmas episode as well. That's right, today we're looking at the 10th and final episode of season 4, Goodwill Towards Men. And for those who don't know The Haunting Hour, I'm gonna tell you in double time.
The Haunting Hour is a kids' anthology horror show that aired from 2010 to 2014 with 76 episodes on a defunct channel called The Hub. It was created by R.L. Stein, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show, Goosebumps. But The Haunting Hour is considered to be a darker version of Goosebumps and is one of the scariest kid shows of all time. It's got some eerie visuals, some actually pretty terrifying monsters, and some really dark twist ending to the episodes. They take short stories from some of Stein's other books, like one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hour, as well as some other books for the stories in the episodes.
Did you get all that? I hope so. Goodwill Towards Men has been one of those episodes that's been recommended to me ever since I started talking about the show. And it's one of 2 holiday-based episodes that are in the show, beating Goosebumps, who has a total of 0 Christmas episodes. They didn't even make Beware the Snowman an episode. They should have done that. That would have been cool. And if you're curious, the other holiday episode is A Creature Was Stirring, which I've already talked about on the channel. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. This episode was directed by James Head, who directed 11 other episodes of the show, including some that I have already talked about on the channel, like The Dead Body, My Robot, and Lots of Luck. The episode was written by the iconic duo Billy Brown and Dan Angel, who wrote 12 other episodes for this show, but they're better known for their work on the 90s Goosebumps show, where they wrote or helped with almost every episode in that series. They also wrote the original Haunting Hour movie and the Monsterville movie that stars Dove Cameron. This episode is pretty star-studded, and the biggest actor of them all is definitely Joey King. She has been in so much stuff, from The Conjuring to The Kissing Booth to Creepshow to Bullet Train. Honestly, a crazy wide range of movies. She's also appeared in the episode Seance in season 3 of The Haunting Hour, so she's no stranger to this show. But my intros have been getting longer and longer, and I don't want to waste any more of your time, so I'll just introduce everyone else as they appear in the episode. So let's quit yapping and get into it. We start this episode at a beautiful house as a man mows the lawn and a narrator introduces us to the tale.
Here's a tale for Christmas time about the fortunate few and those who count their wealth in hearts, humble, good, and true.
Kind of reminds me of the Creeped Out narrator. I don't know why, maybe because British? Anyways, we cut to the Jordan family, and they're trying to think of Christmas gifts to give to their rich friends. But they don't want to give them too nice of things because they want to stay the richest out of their friends. They're even so cheap that they don't want to give a friend a hand-me-down golf club. That is, unless they can use it to their benefit. You see, they weren't gonna give this guy this nice golf club, but his friend sits on the zoning board for the area, and the dad, Lyle, wants to put a mall in the area. So maybe if they give him a nice gift this year, it'll make it easier for him to get the mall he wants so badly.
Get that mall you always wanted to develop, Dad. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can't tell, this family is literal human garbage, and they only get worse from here. But man, they're really starting off strong, aren't they? Also, you might have recognized the dad, Lyle Jordan, because he's played by Tobias Slezak, and he was in the episode Flight, which seems to be showing up a lot lately. He was also in the episode Intruders, and the son Henry Jordan is played by Jeffrey Ballard, and he was in the episodes Lights Out as Sean and My Imaginary Friend as Travis. The mother, who is sadly just given the name Miss Jordan? What, was she not good enough for a first name? But she's played by Ingrid Torrance, and she was the mom in Nightmares Inn, where she was also just titled Julian's mom. God, 2 episodes and no real name? That's kind of sad. What are we doing here? But finally, we get to meet Missy, Joey King's character. Her mom calls her over to tell her that she needs to get ready for a party that they're going to, but Missy really doesn't want to go. She just wants to stay home and bake treats for everybody because she thinks that'll be more fun. But you know how rich families are. They have to keep appearances and look like a happy family, so she is forced to go. Missy notices that they're writing gift ideas down, so she asks what the family is going to give to their gardeners, Pete and Jake. Jake. Little did she know they already gave them a gift.
Oh, the gardeners. I already got them something. It's a job.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they love having to clean your dirty pool or mow your huge yard or put up your Christmas lights and deal with your snooty attitude. They don't even get a Christmas bonus? What's wrong with you? Lyle here is a bigger penny pincher than Scrooge. We then cut to Pete and Jake, the gardeners, who are also father and son. Pete accidentally tweaks his back while lifting this heavy pot, but he's too scared to sit out for even a day because he could lose his job.
Maybe you should knock off for today. There's no sick days on this job.
They aren't allowed sick days? How evil are these people? But these two hard workers have nothing to worry about because they have an angel watching over them. And real quick, Pete Donaldson is played by Aaron Pearl, and he was in the episode Toy Train as Hank. He was also in the show Night Visions, which was made by Billy Brown and Dan Angel, the guys who wrote this episode. His son Jake Donaldson is played by Leon Bletcher. I hope it's Leon, at least. It might be Ian, just spelled weirdly. But sadly, he wasn't in another episode of The Haunting Hour, but he is in the hit movie that took the world by storm, Radio Rebel. We then cut to later that day, and Jake is putting up some more Christmas lights as the narrator says, "Some give silver, some give gold, but the greatest gifts are neither bought nor sold." Just imagine that, but like British. Actually, you know what? I got you. "Some give silver, some give gold, but the greatest gifts are neither bought nor sold." Huh? Was that good? Is that good? Did I get ya? Anyways, Missy invites Jake inside for some special Christmas cookies to take to his family. And she even offers he eats one immediately and takes a little break. Jake does seem a bit nervous about this whole situation and being inside the house, which he's not supposed to be. And he tries to make multiple excuses to get back outside as quickly as possible, but Missy insists that he just sit and relax for a second. And when he finally takes a seat, Mrs. Jordan walks in and witnesses the monstrosity inside her house. You know, I hate calling her Miss Jordan. I'm gonna give her a name. She will now be known as Chelsea Jordan. It's canon now. Fix the IMDb. Chelsea brings Missy into the living room where she gets scolded by literally everyone in her family for bringing the help into their house.
What's the big deal?
These people work for us in the yard. They don't belong in the house. It's not their place.
They literally don't see these guys as human. What is this, 1860? Chelsea then heads back to the kitchen and tells Jake that he's going to have to take his cookies outside because obviously a disgusting slob like him isn't allowed to sit on her $20 Target chairs. Then we cut to later where Missy is getting ready for this dance that she doesn't even really want to go to when she overhears her dad talking to the Donaldsons outside. You can barely hear it, but Lyle fires them for seemingly no reason and then has the gall to tell them, "Have a Merry Christmas." Hey Lyle, how about you get my merry foot up your ass? Full of anger, Missy rushes downstairs to confront her dad about firing them, where her dad gives her the worst reasoning ever for doing it. He says once the help get too familiar or too comfortable, they can't go back to the way it should be. So Missy offering them a cookie is somehow their fault?
Yeah, Dad's right.
Shut up, Henry, no one was asking you. Missy, being the only compassionate person in her family, obviously thinks this line of reasoning is horrible and pushes back against her family. And then her family jokes about her being born into the wrong family, likening her to a cuckoo bird because sometimes cuckoo bird eggs end up in the wrong nest somehow. So not only are they saying she doesn't belong here, they're calling her crazy. Whether they mean it or not, they're literally calling her a cuckoo. But she obviously doesn't like this joke.
Come on, it's Christmas. We're kidding around.
Oh, it's Christmas. Well, since you put it that way, it's actually hilarious. Later that night, after the party, Missy hears a knock on the door and she is shocked to see that Jake has come back. So obviously she invites him in. Don't do that. He got fired from his job for that. Now if they see a random dude in their house, they're gonna like put him on the FBI's most wanted list. I don't know, how much power does this family have? He doesn't stay long though. He just gives Missy their cookie plate back and then he gives her this gift, which he didn't plan on getting her. He says he was just at the mall trying to find a gift for his mom when a random person shoved this one into his hands and told him, "It's for your sister." But Jake doesn't have a sister or a girlfriend or any women in his life besides his mom. He actually worked so much that the only girl he knows is Missy. So he decided to just give it to her as a gift because he didn't know who else to give it to. And so Missy thanks him for this gift and she tries to apologize about her awful family, but oh, he's already out the door. Okay. Missy opens the gift to find this creepy angel topper inside. She shows it to her family and tells them how she got it, but she's just met with more of them being rude and awful about it.
Maybe it's a bomb in disguise.
Yeah, shit like that. Missy thinks it's very sweet that he gave her this, and she mentions putting it on top of the tree, but of course Chelsea doesn't want it up there, and neither does her dad or brother either. So Missy just uses it as a room decoration and decides to get some sleep. But as she sleeps, something strange starts happening. She's awakened by a bright light coming from the hallway, and the angel beside her is now gone. And as she gets up and gets ready to investigate it, we get another narration.
You know by now 'tis not Santa who's come. Other lists must be checked. The fun's only begun.
Missy steps out of her room to find her brother's bedroom has a giant burning X on it. And across the hall to her parents' room, the angel is now life-size and puts a burning X on their door as well. Then the angel slowly turns to look at Missy, emotionless, before disappearing entirely. Missy is frozen in fear, and she watches as a fiery X burns through their parents' door. And when she finally gets the confidence to turn around, the angel is there, waiting on her. Missy kinda runs downstairs to get away from the terrifying angel, but it's no use. She can't escape her. And Missy gets so scared that she passes out. See, I was going to make fun of this, but I think I'd have a similar reaction if this happened to me, so I'll let this one slide. The next morning, Missy is awakened by her mom and dad, who think it's cute that she was so excited about Christmas that she slept in front of the Christmas tree. She's just very confused and tries to explain what happened, but she's interrupted by Henry, who points out that the angel is now on top of the tree. But Missy didn't put it there. Henry tries to put the blame on Missy, but ultimately, no one cares. It's already up there. There's no reason to pull it down now. And then they rummage under the tree to open some presents. But every present has somebody else's name on it. The names of the gardeners that they fired the day before. Chelsea also doesn't recognize any of the wrapping paper on the presents that she wrapped. And this is when we start to get some answers. Pete, Jake, and his wife, who you would never guess her name, it's Miss Donaldson, yeah. Can we not think of women names over here at Haunting Hour Inc? Come on, guys. Her name is Audrey now. Put it in the IMDb. Influencing the IMDb of the Haunting Hour, that's never gonna happen. The Donaldsons are really confused as to why Lyle brought his family over to their house for Christmas. But of course, the Jordan family is confused at why the Donaldsons are in their house for Christmas. So both families are just super confused about what's happening. But you know, the Jordans are particularly snooty, so Chelsea doesn't ask many questions. She just tells Lyle to call the cops on them. And Audrey thinks that's a great idea, and she beats him to the phone, where it is confirmed that the Donaldsons actually own the house, if you couldn't tell by the presents. And that also explains why the angel magically appeared on top of the tree. And it appears that the roles have magically been reversed on the families. The Jordans are now the gardeners for the Donaldson family, and Lyle looks insane for bringing his family over to their Christmas uninvited. But of course, Lyle doesn't think this is true. He's still in denial and thinks this is his house, and to prove it, he brings out his driver's license and shows he doesn't have a driver's license, or credit cards, or money. They're literally dead broke right now. No money left. So you know what this means. The Jordan family are now escorted out of the house, and nothing but their pajamas. But unlike what the Jordan family would have done, the Donaldsons actually feel really bad for them, because they know they're just people and they're down on their luck. Hell, even Jake let Henry steal one of his jackets because he knows he's going to need it. And the Jordans have nowhere to go, so they walk, and walk, and walk, until they find a homeless camp in the middle of nowhere. Chelsea isn't exactly thrilled about staying in the camp, but everyone else is so tired, they just want to rest up for a while and maybe get some food. And luckily for them, Henry spots a food truck nearby, but they don't have any money, so they can't get anything from the food truck. But Henry's gonna try something anyways. I guess he's just gonna try and talk his way into getting food. Yeah, good luck with that. And his parents are a bit worried about Henry's plan to get food, so they chase after him to keep a close eye on him and maybe stop him if things get too rough. And while they all do that, Missy stays back because the angel is calling for her in this shipping crate. The angel is just waiting there eerily for Missy to come see her. Missy asks the angel why it chose their family to bully, and she claims that their family aren't bad people. I don't know about that one, Chief. I mean, you're not a bad person, but the rest of your family? But Missy begs the angel to help their family in some way. And despite her family being so awful, the angel does give them a special gift. $5 so that they can get some food.
$5? That's what you're gonna do for us? You're giving us $5.
Bro, just take the money and be quiet. You're really not in the position to be negotiating the angel right now. You guys are lucky she even gave you $5. Some people don't even have that. Right after she gets the $5, Missy overhears her family and the food truck vendor getting in a bit of a tussle. It looks like Henry thought he could just walk up and take some food to eat, but of course he can't just do that. He's not entitled to food like he thinks he is. Things are starting to get pretty rough between the two, but luckily for him, Missy brought the guy the money that was given to her, so their family can share some food for the night.
Chips too. Yeah, that's $5.
Even broke, he feels so entitled to things. Kind of a sad existence. By the way, the food truck guy is played by Colin Fu, and he was in the episode Bad Feng Shui as Mr. Ming. And later that night, the family gather around a fire and begin to share the tiny sandwich that they fought so valiantly for. But as they struggle to unwrap it, Missy spots a woman that looks like she hasn't eaten in days. She feels so bad for the woman that she yanks the sandwich out of their hands and gives it to the starving woman to eat. Missy then takes this opportunity to try to make her family realize that they've actually been very lucky. They've spent their whole lives with full bellies and a warm home to go to. These people have been living out here like this for years, and who knows the last time that lady got something to eat. So they can starve for just one night if it means helping out someone who needs it even more. Then we cut to this little nook in the camp that the family are resting in. It's honestly a kind of cool little nook. I like it. Lyle walked around for a couple of miles and tried to find a payphone, but he couldn't find one because they don't exist anymore. But luckily, because of someone's kindness, he was able to use their phone to call the credit card company and try to get a new card, but the company had never heard of him before. And he tried to make a couple other phone calls, but no one knew who he was. He has no record of being alive, no hospital bills, no social security card. He might as well not exist. The family have had a really rough day so far, and they're still completely lost and don't know what to do. But for now, all they can do is rest for the night. But with all this stress, Missy just can't sleep, so she heads outside for some fresh air, and that's when the angel makes another appearance. Missy falls to her knees and begs the angel to end her and her family's suffering. They've gone through so much in just one day. She says that she knows her family is selfish and clueless, but they're not evil people. She just wants their suffering to stop, and she begs the angel to please return everything back to the way it should be. And then a bright light shines over Missy, and she's teleported back into her bed on Christmas morning. She runs to the tree as Chelsea sets down a plate of cinnamon rolls and is greeted by Audrey Donaldson. And Chelsea says that she just whipped up some breakfast for the Donaldsons to eat while they open their presents around the tree. And then Pete comes downstairs to find Lyle and Henry raking leaves in their yard. And he invites them in for a day off work and a very special Christmas bonus. Usually you give the Christmas bonus like a couple of weeks before so people can use it to buy gifts for other people. You know what? Never mind. It's okay. But now that everyone's inside, Missy calls Henry over to give him a gift. And she says something a bit confusing.
This is from me and my brother.
Wait, so like, Henry is your brother, right? Have I been mistaken this whole video? Anyways, Henry thanks the two for his gift, and then everyone says their goodbyes, and the episode ends with Missy saying this Christmas was great. Everything is how it should be. And the narrator ends the episode by saying,
"We leave our dear people with hopes burning bright, families altered and spirits set right. But the greedy received happiness, some may exclaim. I wish to see them end up writhing in pain. All we can say to those with that view is even the rich deserve Christmas cheer too."
And that's the end of the episode. That ending is a bit confusing, but I got you. Give me a second. So earlier in the episode, some mysterious person told Jake to give this gift to his sister, which he didn't have, nor did he know any other girls to give it to but Missy. And that gift had the angel in it, which of course could see the goodness in Missy, but wanted to teach the rest of her family a lesson. So naturally, you make them homeless so they feel what it feels like to be broke and struggling. And of course, Missy has a big heart. She just can't bear to see her family so depressed and sad. So she asked the angel to return everything to the way it should be. So according to the angel and Missy, this is how things are supposed to be. The Donaldsons and Jordans have swapped places. The Donaldsons are now rich, but they're not selfish. They know how to treat humans like humans. Unlike the Jordans, who, when they were rich, viewed the workers as lesser than humans because they were a little down on their luck. So now the Jordans will always be down on their luck because they didn't appreciate it when they were lucky. Also, Missy is a better fit for the Donaldson family. She too is very compassionate and kind. And they actually hinted at this ending multiple times in the episode. At the beginning, the Jordans were picking on Missy for being so soft and so different, even going as far as to say that she was born into the wrong family. And then Jake, not knowing who to give the angel to, gave the angel to Missy because he viewed her as a sister or thought of her as a sister. Or at least that's what I'm taking from it. Like, I'm guessing he viewed her as a sister because she was so nice to him. So yeah, the angel fixed everything, even if it meant swapping Missy from one family to the other. And I just gotta say, This is kind of a banger episode. I knew it would be with how many times it got recommended to me, but they ended off the show very well, and I'm very happy about that. At first, I thought it was going to be a classic Christmas bit where the family see the true value in Christmas and family, and then they're suddenly the nicest people in the world, and it just confuses everyone. You know, just like A Christmas Carol. And there is nothing wrong with A Christmas Carol. It's actually my favorite Christmas story, but it has been beaten to death over and over and over and over. And it almost went that way, but I'm glad they gave us a classic Haunting Hour twist that's honestly kind of dark, if you think about it. I mean, Missy abandoned her family to be with another family, and then damned her old family into being something awful. Blue collar. No, on a serious note, that family definitely needed some humbling, so it's probably best that they stay in a humbling position in society. Especially Henry. He had rich kid syndrome so bad, man. And I really like what they did with the angel in this episode. It's somehow innocent looking, but also super creepy at the same time. I guess it's the doll-like appearance, and I find dolls kind of creepy, so that's why. But when it turns into an actual woman, it is literally nightmare fuel. And she really doesn't do much either. She just stands there. Menacingly. But her not doing much, just standing there so still, even though she looks like a real woman, I think that just adds to the creepy factor in her face. Look at that face, it's creepy. But I do love the mysteriousness around the angel. She is really never explained, not even slightly. Is she Missy's guardian angel? Is she the Christmas spirit? Get what I did there? Christmas spirit? Spirit like a ghost? Don't worry about it. It was stupid. It was stupid. Don't even think about it. But whatever she is, she's going on the creepiest monsters list for me. I just find her so terrifying to look at. Maybe it's me being a wimp. I don't know. I don't like it. And I honestly find it hard to find things I don't like about this episode. I mean, it's a little predictable sometimes. And I find the Jordans to be a little too evil in the beginning. Like, I know most rich people aren't the nicest people in the world. Believe me, I worked at a grocery store in a richer area before. But they were like unbelievably evil and for no reason at all. God forbid an employee takes a little break because they hurt their back, or they're invited into your house for cookies by your own daughter. It just seemed like they were being cruel for the sake of being cruel because it made them feel good or something. But yeah, like I said, I can't think of many complaints of the episode. I think the episode is great. It has good acting, it has a good story, and one with a good lesson for kids. I do like how everything turns gray for the family whenever they lose everything. You get a glimpse of the world through their eyes in that moment. It's bleak and sad, and it really adds to the feeling of despair in the episode. It was a really good touch. I'm glad that they added that. I also want to point out that this is like the third episode I talked about this month that has something to do with karma. Lovecraft's Woods, karma. Swarmin Norman, karma. A Red Dress, karma. Oh, and really quick, I want to mention that Audrey Donaldson is played by Anne DeLuise, and she's the wife of Peter DeLuise, who directed a couple of episodes for the show, and she was also in the episode My Sister the Witch as Donna. She was also in the Goosebumps episode The Haunted Mask as this mom who gets mad at Carly Beth. It's also kind of funny that the show started and ended on Christmas episodes. If you consider the Really You episodes to be like the pilot for the show, then the real first episode is A Creature Was Stirring, which is a Christmas episode, and then this is the final episode, which is also a Christmas episode. It's kind of funny. It's a little funny coincidence. But I think that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys for supporting Haunt-Vember. I've had a lot of fun doing this. It was something I did on a whim because it's hard trying to keep up with so many shows and all these new shows that people want to see that sometimes I just miss talking about the same show. And I really like this show a lot. I don't know if you guys can tell. I secretly like it more than Goosebumps, but don't tell my Goosebumps fans that. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get bonus content plus videos a day early, maybe some pictures of my cats, a Discord server, and your name right here on screen. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace. It'd be cool if I got that angel for that tree. We got any doll makers that can make me that? That'd be really nice to have.